Chapter 481. Suhweli paused for a moment while brewing tea. Returned to Jizhu. Suhweli continued to brew tea, the corners of his lips slightly smoothing. Good. I will return after I finish dealing with the matters at hand. Shadow Guard True Person nodded his head. Old Prince said, your senior brothers and sisters have already stepped into the divine primordial, and your cultivation lags far behind. After returning to Jizhu, they will give you ample resources to greatly improve your cultivation. In 3 years, outside the great scenic divine capital, the Flat Peach Victory meeting held by the Queen Mother of the West in the 3 pure bazaar temples will open, and the prince wants you to prepare well. If you can win a Flat Peach, the prince says you have a chance at achieving embryonic breathing, said the Shadow Guard True Person, his voice floating through the carriage. Suhweli paused his movements and chuckled lightly, Master, do you have so little faith in me? Only with a Flat Peach, I have a chance at embryonic breathing. I have no chance of forming a divine fetus. The Shadow Guard True Person, shrouded in rolling black fog, glanced at Suhweli. He didn't continue the conversation, as this topic was not one to be continued. However, Suhweli didn't mind and continued brewing tea. Zhangya and Sheng Guanqinghong sat back in the carriage, while Li Che was sitting sideways on the coachman's seat, his face as still as an ancient well, his emotions unreadable. The wind and rain fluttered, and his ink-black robe waved and lashed through the air. In the depths of his eyes, black and white chess pieces intertwined, and the lines of the chessboard undulated like waves. In Li Che's eyes, the pure heart divine chess piece left in Xixi's hand had already reflected the situation of Xixi entering into strange K right before his eyes. It was like the luminance of a mirrored reflection. Li Che's primordial spirit sat upon the heavenly and earth chessboard, his divine sense forming strands of hair fluttering in the wind, his gaze opening and closing, shining with golden light, facing the scene directly. His face was incredibly grim. In the scene, Xixi entered strange K, and the purple flame serpent spear sounded its vibration, emitting purple flames that twined around it, pulling and guiding Xixi forward, all of which was revealed. Up until here, actually, it wasn't anything special. But when Xixi arrived before the mysterious temple, and saw another Xixi sitting on the stairs, Li Che's pupils contracted. Bones scraped to repay my father. Flesh cut to repay my mother. Come! That Xixi was grasping a divine sword, fiercely slicing off her own flesh, with blood mist spraying. Li Che's fingers suddenly clenched tightly, a burst of malevolence erupting from him. What was this situation? Who was this Xixi? A reflection and manifestation of the temple god in the mysterious temple? Is this meant to corrupt my Xixi? Li Che frowned. He was about to grasp the thunder chess piece and appear within. But suddenly, Li Che's hand movement stopped, with intersecting lines forming on the chessboard in his eyes. He then saw that Xixi, who was scraping bones and cutting flesh, suddenly raised her head, her sinister gaze seeming to pass through the thunder chess piece and collide directly with Li Che, who was monitoring from the heavenly and earth chessboard. Xixi cracked a grin, slowly forming a wildly arrogant curve. Dead monkey! Don't rush! Her lips met. Though no sound was made, Li Che understood. Li Che's grip on the thunder chess piece paused for a moment. Within the heaven and earth chessboard, the equal to heaven's face vibrated slightly and then returned to calm. As if it were saying, silly child, you've scolded the wrong monkey. This temple god is somewhat devilish. A divine child? A demon child? Li Che tapped his finger and held the thunder chess piece between his fingertips. The net of heaven has spread wide, the move falls on me. Just a single thought, and I could take Xixi away from danger. Mysterious fog churned. Creak creak. That was the sound of a blunt knife cutting meat, too clear and piercing, making one's hair stand on end. Xixi felt all the little hairs on her arm stand up. She heard the Xixi sitting on the stone steps calling out, summoning her. The chubby-faced Xixi's countenance shook uncontrollably. Fake. You are not Xixi. I am the real Xixi, Li Nuangzai. Xixi was a bit angry. She glared with wide eyes, void of fear, lacking terror. Why go through this charade? Daddy and Mommy gave Xixi her body, a small cut on Xixi's hands would make Daddy and Mommy distressed. How could Xixi cut flesh to repay Mommy, and carve bone to repay Daddy? If she did, Daddy and Mommy would be very, very sad. XIXI definitely didn't want to make mommy and daddy sad. That's not allowed. XIXI put her hands on her hips, glaring with her little eyes, and shouted in her baby voice. The figure of XIXI sitting on the steps suddenly stiffened for a moment. Pfft! The sword in hand, the action still did not stop. Why not? Daddy doesn't love XIXI, when there's trouble he always says it's XIXI's fault, tells XIXI to apologize, to kowtow and bow. How could XIXI be wrong? Even if XIXI was wrong, why would Daddy help others to bully XIXI? The hoarse voice, with the crying tone, accompanied by the sound of cutting flesh. As if the gates of the underworld were wide open, countless wailing ghostly whines howled in, intending to freeze everything, to seal it all in ice. The XIXI standing up from the steps, her face was full of sorrowful crying, tears streaming down her face. Crying very sadly, very miserably. Just one look from XIXI, and she felt the same pain, unable to help but pout, wanting to cry. But XIXI fiercely sniffed, forcibly holding back the tears. You're lying. Daddy is not like what you said. Daddy loves XIXI the most, likes XIXI the most, and would never help outsiders to bully XIXI. XIXI put her hands on her hips, stubbornly retorted. That XIXI who stood up from the steps, with a puff, the sharp sword sliced off a piece of crimson flesh, which fell to the ground, and with a bang, ignited a blood-red flame. Chapter 482. Impossible. Daddy is helping others bully XIXI. He wants XIXI's bones, XIXI's flesh. XIXI will give them to him. Give them to him. The screaming voice exploded, and the entire strange case seemed to stir with restless waves. Daddy would never force XIXI. Daddy loves XIXI the most. XIXI, refusing to admit defeat, shouted loudly in response. The milky voice lingered within strange K. Not the slightest bit seduced by the scenes reflected by the temple god, her heart was unwavering. The storm raged fiercely, with mysterious fog rolling ceaselessly. But then, the XIXI standing on the stairs twisted into a dazzling black flame lotus. The lotus with its black pedestal slowly rotated, budding and blooming. Afterward, a child was seated on the lotus pedestal. The child wore a black belly band, with two sky-reaching tufts of hair, dark circles under the eyes, and was engulfed in thick black flames. He simply looked at XIXI calmly. You don't believe it? The child asked XIXI. XIXI tilted her chin up, shaking her head constantly. You believe. Return bones to father, flesh to mother, and you can obtain the true legacy of divinity. You can get divinities for Imperial Divine Arms suit, receive the divine cultivation method, step into the divine fetus, even pass through the divine tribulation, and transform into a carefree deity. The tempting voice echoed eerily among the mysterious fog. XIXI immediately gnashed her teeth. Liar. If XIXI lost daddy and mommy, what would she need divine weapons for? What would she need cultivation for? XIXI would have no home. Then, what's the point of cultivating? XIXI didn't want to be without a home. I definitely won't. XIXI wants daddy, wants mommy, wants smelly old Chen, wants Nurse Momo, not to give away bones and flesh. XIXI, no. XIXI was very resolute, her eyes shining brightly. The child seated on the black lotus was taken aback upon hearing this. His eyes looked at XIXI in astonishment. The next moment, he raised his head. Ha ha ha. You say your daddy loves you. Then try it. If you cause trouble, will your daddy still love you? He'll make you apologize, bow your head, kneel, endure grievances. Everyone will insult you, curse you, talk about you, scold you, and then, no one will stand by your side, you'll stand there alone. Abandoned by the whole world. Go on, try it. The child on the black lotus laughed with his belly in his hands. Then, he leaped down from the black lotus. The black flames burned fiercely, steadily advancing towards XIXI. XIXI immediately became vigilant. Her first move was Li Chei's taught White Tiger Chaotic Wind Fist. The third crown prince, burning in black flames, walked up to XIXI. He extended a finger, touching it to the center of XIXI's forehead. Suddenly, the endless flames drew back. The child also disappeared. My daddy would never. My daddy is the nicest in the whole world, nothing like your stinky daddy. Xixi, not convinced, puffed up her little belly, let's try and see then. The child vanished. The mysterious fog began to slowly roll and surge. That black lotus stage, ablaze with black flames, still sat over there. Xixi was stunned. The little spear in her hands suddenly began to tremble violently. Xixi took small, cautious steps, inching closer to the side of the black lotus stage. She peeked over curiously. And saw. Within the black lotus stage. There was actually a block of glittering gold brick. Xixi's eyes suddenly lit up with wonder. Wow! Such a big gold brick! Could buy so many braised pig's trotters. Atop the carriage. The breeze wafted gently. Li Chei's eyes slowly opened, and couldn't help flashing a look of speechlessness. The unending argument between Xixi and the third crown prince's incarnation resembled little children bickering. Only, it seemed the third crown prince had not won the argument. Xixi, with a stiff neck, hands on hips, and belly puffed out, simply would not relent or be deceived by the third crown prince. Li Chei couldn't help but laugh. However, laughter aside, Li Chei's expression turned serious. What did the third crown prince mean by let's try? Li Chei pondered carefully, but had no clue. He knew too little about the strange Quebec. Especially, this strange K at the four imperials level. It was simply beyond the current Li Chei's reach. He heard that once the mysterious fog erupted from a four-royal mysterious temple, it would require the presence of the divine fetus great god to have a chance at suppression. Although Li Chei quite enjoyed absorbing the divinity of temple gods, this third prince temple god might not be easy to absorb. The third prince temple god that spoke with Xixi just now was probably just a projection. Yet even as a mere projection, it could seemingly see through the probing of the heaven and earth chessboard. Li Chei naturally knew that the temple gods of the mysterious temples in this world are fallen deities, and their strength naturally less than when they were alive. But it also depends on the comparison. At least, relative to the powers of this world, even a fallen temple god is an incredibly strong and terrifying existence. A test from the temple god for Xixi. I hope it's not some messy trial. Li Chei let out a breath. Suddenly, Li Chei sensed something, looked up, and saw, above the Nine Dragons River, the dense mysterious fog shrouded in mysterious K was being slowly torn apart. The prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel was spinning at high speed. The wheel of flames turned, sparks flying. Gradually, a grand avenue appeared. Not only Li Chei, but at this moment, everyone on the listening Fury Cliff Stone couldn't help but cast their gazes over. Despite the great distance, for many strong individuals present, such distance hardly mattered. Chapter 483. The Temple God Resonance is about to be released. Zhang Qingzheng, wearing a pained expression, said in a deep voice. Standing with him were Li Qingshan, Zhu Hengdu, and Wang Wuyu, three elder divine ministers, all of whom narrowed their eyes. They looked over eagerly. It wasn't just them. Many strong figures who had retreated into horse-drawn carriages came out again. The gazes of numerous powerful individuals were all cast in the same direction. They saw the scene in front of the mysterious temple of the eight-armed prison lotus furious third prince, about 300 yards away. A group of children was standing clearly divided. All the children had their eyes closed, enveloped in a mysterious fog. Be it Xixi, Ji Haihui, Tai Shan-Ke, and other children, all had their eyes closed as if they were in a coma. In the next moment, as the smoke dispersed, the children began to step forward. From 300 yards away, they walked towards the mysterious temple. By the distance at which they approached the mysterious temple, one could determine the extent of the children's resonance with the temple god. Once they awoke, the children would receive gifts and rewards from the temple god. The world's first divine cultivation method was obtained through the gifts from the temple god. It was the origin of divine cultivation, which gradually evolved into the vast and magnificent path of divinity we know today. Li Chei also became alert. The scene before his eyes and what he saw through the heaven and earth chessboard via Xixi's perspective were two different scenes. This indeed surprised Li Chei, as the four royal mysterious temples were certainly mysterious enough. Li Chei looked up. He saw Xixi with her eyes closed, small in form, unable to take a step, standing still, her body trembling uncontrollably and her face full of struggle. And other spirit children and divine children had already started walking. They stepped within 300 yards, walking towards the mysterious temple. Suddenly, an uproar erupted from atop a cliff. The local cultivators from Golden Light Prefecture all turned extremely pale. The ones from Divine Capital, from Dao City, from the offspring of King Pingluan. Were these prestigious divine children really that formidable? Their divine child from Golden Light Prefecture, Li Nuangzai, hadn't even taken a step. She was far behind. However, figures like Hai Chao Sheng, Gong Yuan Liang, Gong Yang Yu and Huang Si Xiang had started moving. Although not slow, they could not compare to Ji Haihui and the others. Undoubtedly, this session of Temple God Resonance had utterly crushed the local divine and spirit children of Golden Light Prefecture. Leading the forefront was not Ji Haihui but Tai Shankei from Divine Capital, with his eyes closed and three colored flames burning around him. He was unstoppable. Following him was not Ji Haihui but someone who surprised everyone. Little fatty Zhou Peng. Next came Yuni. Then Ji Haihui, surrounded by the Dragon God's phantom, the young prince. Afterward, from the Dao City Imperial Heavenly Observatory, came Tang Ren. Behind Tang Ren came the child from Golden Light Prefecture. But when the local cultivators of Golden Light Prefecture clearly saw this figure, they were all stunned. Isn't that the supreme spirit child of the Qin family? Qin Feng Guo. Following Tang Ren, his degree of resonance with the temple god was only slightly lesser than the child brought by the Dao City Imperial Heavenly Observatory. The spirit child of the Qin family. It wasn't just these Golden Light cultivators. Even Sect Master Nan Luo felt incredibly surprised, his eyes flashing with confusion. Qin Feng Guo, an utterly non-special spirit child with very ordinary divine talent, was making a name for himself in this temple god resonance. Many people turned to look in the direction of the Qin family. But they saw the old ancestor of the Qin family, Qin Dickon, sitting inside the carriage, with curtains drawn and not a stir. It seemed he was not delighted because the Qin family's spirit child was about to achieve good results in the temple god resonance. Many people suddenly couldn't understand the Qin family. Li Chei's eyes flickered, focusing on the carriage where Qin Dickon sat. In his chest, the Dao fruit throbbed slightly. As if sensing a threat. A threat? Li Chei squinted his eyes, his thoughts stirring. The net of the heaven and earth chessboard spread out, and the seven elemental corpse curse mother-child seal was sparked by a flick of his primordial spirit. Instantly, an invisible dark qi rapidly spread, enveloping the carriage. The anticipated corpse qi and death qi did not appear, soaring into the sky. Li Chei's eyes fluctuated momentarily. He furrowed his brow. Thinking of the Dao fruit's warning prompt. Li Chei raised his hand, tapping his brow chakra, and in an instant, flesh tore open and an eyeball rolled around. Divine skills, star-plucking pupil. Instantly, as if a sharp and blazing gaze shot from the center of Li Chei's brow, it landed on the carriage. Li Chei's eyes suddenly shifted slightly. Under the return-to-reality power of the star-plucking pupil. Inside the carriage of the Qin family. Irrepressible corpse qi and death qi were brewing and rolling. The star-plucking pupil closed. Li Chei let out a breath, his expression grave. Corpse God Cult. Yuan Jinggong. Qin Feng Huo was unexpectedly ranked quite ahead among the many children resonating with the temple gods, which was quite surprising. Following Qin Feng Huo was Lu Qi, Li Qingshan's disciple. This was the second time Lu Qi participated in the temple god resonance, so this level was understandable. After Lu Qi, it was Zhong Liuxiu, the divine child of the Ganyuan Orthodox sect. But Li Nuangzai, the favored Jiazi child prodigy from the native Golden Light Prefecture, had not taken even a single step. This was the rhythm of getting nothing from the temple god resonance. Inside the carriage, Zhangya and Sheng Guanqinghong also heard the news. Their view was unclear, but there were people around explaining, so they heard it clearly. Zhangya's face turned deathly pale. XIXI really didn't resonate with the temple god at all. They had been looking forward to it for so long, prepared for so long. But when the results came out, it was still somewhat disappointing. If XIXI knew this result, she would be so heartbroken, sighed Zhangye. XIXI, such a strong-willed child. Of course, it wasn't just XIXI who hadn't taken a step, many spirit children were like XIXI, unable to even move. Many spirit children were sweating profusely, trying their hardest, but still couldn't move a step. They looked just like XIXI, who was trembling all over at this moment. At the cliffside, the winds howled through the void. Nan Luo's eyes sparkled. He was astonished to see XIXI stopping in her tracks. How could this be? Nan Luo frowned, somewhat shocked. How could XIXI possibly have no resonance at all with the temple gods? King Taoist was also somewhat surprised, his hand stroking his beard suddenly paused. Could it be the bet he made with Nan Luo, he could still win? Impossible. Unreasonable. It shouldn't be, with XIXI's talent, how could she not walk even 10 feet in a distance of 300 feet? Nan Luo clenched his fists. Something went wrong. There must be something wrong with XIXI. The golden light wheel roared. The mysterious fog stirred again, not giving the crowd much to see. The fog over the river slowly surged again, obscuring everyone's vision. The mysterious fog rolled. Ji Haihui's purple eyes flickered incessantly, piercing through the strange entities, locking on the position of the mysterious temple, and kept on advancing. Voices echoed incessantly by his ears. It sounded like a chant, yet also like the sound of a dull knife cutting through flesh. The voice was guiding him in the direction to proceed. Ji Haihui followed the voice, his purple eyes shining, the dragon god bloodline inside him boiling uncontrollably and stirring within. Subsequently, it formed a dragon god phantom around his body. Like a purple Jiao dragon, it tore and wriggled through the mysterious fog. His expression was a bit tense, a bit dazed, the temple god resonance, each test was different. What he could obtain, he did not know for sure in his heart. But his father, Ji Moli, ordered him to reach the mysterious temple, only then could he receive the inheritance of the 4 royal temple gods. Ji Haihui didn't want to let down his father's expectations. In his hand, he gripped a sword. Black as ink, as if it wanted to swallow all light. This was the trump card given to him by his father, Ji Moli, for use during the temple god resonance. 4 royal divine weapons. Prison Lotus Yin Yang Divine Sword, the Yin Sword. Ji Haihui naturally can't control it. But just taking it out was enough. Indeed. When Ji Haihui took out the sword, the mysterious fog seemed to vibrate and tear apart, and by his ears, the sounds resounded like a guiding whisper. This made Ji Haihui deliriously joyful. This voice continuously guided him in the direction to proceed. He trusted this voice immensely, knowing he had obtained the attention of the temple god, creating a high level of resonance. He would step into the mysterious temple, and receive the inheritance of the 4 supreme temple gods. Suddenly, Ji Haihui halted his strides. His hair fluttered, purple eyes deep. He looked into the distance. There, he saw a figure he would never forget in his life. The figure that made him feel an unprecedented shame. Ji Haihui's dragon god purple pupils flickered hauntingly. Li Nuangzai. And Ji Haihui finally heard the vague voice that had been guiding him all along clearly. Kill her! Kill her! Kill her! Chapter 484. Kill her! Kill her! The voice, moving from afar to nearby, exploded at his ear. Young Prince Ji Haihui's whole body shook, and his dragon god's purple pupils suddenly burst forth with a cold and crazed murderous intent. Kill her! I could then obtain the inheritance. I could live up to my father's expectations. Ji Haihui's mind buzzed incessantly, his body uncontrollably trembling, clutching that 4 royal divine weapon. This divine weapon was his trump card, the one to stand out and suppress all divine children in this temple god resonance convention. The prison Lotus Yin Yang Divine Sword. 4 royal divine weapons. Split Yin Divine Sword and Yang Divine Sword. The Yin Divine Sword was obtained by his father from another of the 4 royal mysterious temples and also received a prompt revealing that the Yang Divine Sword was located in the 8-armed prison Lotus Furious 3rd Crown Prince Mysterious Temple in Golden Light Prefecture. Ji Haihui's other purpose for coming here was to use the Yin Divine Sword by command, to attract the Yang Divine Sword and achieve the union of the Yin and Yang Divine Swords. Gather the prison Lotus Yin Yang Divine Swords. Clutching this sword, yet there was no response, this 4 royal divine weapon seemed to completely disregard him, never showing any wonder. When Ji Haihui had obtained this sword, he had harbored ambitions. He had fantasized that perhaps he could win the approval of this 4 royal divine weapon and become its wielder. Then his, Ji Haihui's, future would be well secured. He might even have the credentials to inherit and succeed his father's position as King Pingluan. Unfortunately, this Yin divine sword felt nothing towards him. It even felt some disgust. But now, everything had taken a turn. Ji Haihui gripped the prison Lotus Yin divine sword tightly, his ears ringing with overwhelming sounds, deafening him, causing his mind to tremble with great agitation. It seemed like He had won the favor of the temple god. Kill her. Kill Li Nuangzai. This is the temple god's test for me. Ji Haihui couldn't help but curl up the corners of his lips in excitement. The temple god perfectly matched his intentions. Because Ji Haihui harbored an intent to kill towards Xixi, with no trace of mercy or soft-heartedness towards her. Is this what temple god resonance is? The temple god wants to kill Li Nuangzai, and I also want to kill Li Nuangzai. What a coincidence! A resonance on a spiritual level. Ji Haihui held the prison lotus yin divine sword diagonally. The sword was too long, and he had to tilt it slightly to ensure the tip of the sword didn't tear into the ground. Slowly taking steps, the mysterious fog billowed. Step by step, the sound of his footsteps continuously echoed. In the distance, Xixi held onto a gold brick, unable to let go, her eyes slightly gleaming. Xixi didn't understand why such a large gold brick had appeared in front of the mysterious temple. How many braised pigs trotters could such a large gold brick buy? Anything that appeared in the mysterious temple was considered her serendipity. Xixi wasn't shy about it. The gold brick was heavy, and at first, Xixi tried her hardest but couldn't move it. However, after a series of pulses from the little spear in her arm, the purple flames gathered and wound around her arm. Xixi then found out that she could lift the gold brick. Though it was still heavy, she could at least pick it up. Xixi was overjoyed. Purple flames continuously entwined, seemingly burning the gold brick. Gradually, the gold brick began to dissolve. Xixi was still in high spirits when she suddenly discovered, to her surprise, that the gold brick was melting like ice and snow. The flowing gold paste unexpectedly wrapped around Xixi's forearm, turning her other forearm into a shimmering golden hue. "Ah, my gold smash!" Xixi was heartbroken. Xixi's braised pork feet. Xixi was in a panic. So many braised pork feet seemed about to disappear. Xixi's mood really turned extremely ugly. Looking at her arm that had turned golden, Xixi pouted. She surely couldn't chop off her golden arm to buy braised pork feet, could she? Xixi spread her hands. Inside her left hand hid little spear, and inside her right hand hid little brick. Suddenly, Xixi's mind buzzed loudly. Kill him! Kill him! Boom! Xixi shut her eyes, continuously shaking her head as if to shake off the noisy voice from her mind. Clear footsteps echoed throughout. Xixi turned around and saw in the distance Ji Haihui, clutching a black ink-like divine sword, walking towards her step by step. Xixi glared, "Little servant!" Ji Haihui's mouth twitched slightly, the murderous intent in his purple pupils growing thicker. He didn't respond, his gaze fixed on Xixi, filled only with a desire to kill. The voices in his head gradually quieted down. Ji Haihui felt panic rising within him as if the temple god was moving away from him, that he was about to lose the temple god's resonance. He could not allow that. Contained within Ji Haihui's chest, a profound energy erupted violently as if about to explode, roaring furiously. He wanted to obtain the temple god's legacy. He wanted to find the prison lotus yang divine sword. So, Li Nuangzai, go to your death. You were meant to die anyway. He was meant to kill Li Nuangzai. Crackle. Ji Haihui's body started to ripple, his strong blood energy furiously entwining his body, his back muscles bulging with each twitching tendon, resembling a jiao-long roaring. Within him, blood boiled, as if the unique bloodline of the dragon god was awakening. Purple radiance intertwined, forming a dragon god phantom around his body. Boom! Ji Haihui's eyes filled with intense and cold murderous intent. With the dragon god phantom revolving around him and clutching the yin divine sword, he fiercely struck his foot down, and the mysterious fog swiftly spread. He moved like a dragon swiftly darting out. The prison lotus yin divine sword in his hand swung fiercely. Chapter 485. Although he could not activate the prison lotus yin divine sword, he could rely on the inherent sharpness and rank suppression of the four imperials' divine swords. It was absolutely enough to kill Li Nuangzai. Ji Haihui naturally knew of Li Nuangzai's capabilities. After all, he had been defeated by her once, and although he had been diligently cultivating these days, his strength had not improved much. But this time was different. Previously on the Golden Light Peak, he did not dare to draw out the prison lotus yin divine sword. Neither could he. Because when he left Jizhu, his father had cautioned him that the prison lotus yin divine sword could only be drawn out during the temple god resonance. Ji Haihui listened intently, so on the golden light peak, even when he completely fell into madness, he never took out the sword to suppress Li Nuangzai. But now, at the Temple God Resonance Convention, within the strange K, he no longer needed to hold back or suppress himself. Bang! Like a purple lightning serpent, it suddenly burst forth, sword light swirling. 10,000 dragons subduing gods. With the dragon god's bloodline fully activated, Ji Haihui gave his all, striking with the martial saint's ultimate technique from the very beginning. 10,000 dragons subduing gods was indeed a martial saint ultimate study, capable of merging with the 10,000 laws. From the outset, it was a martial saint ultimate study. A sure kill. As if there truly were 10,000 dragons diving down simultaneously, carrying countless swirling sword lights, covering the heavens and blanketing the ground, as if 10,000 dragon shadows were raining down. Bang 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 bang! Within the mysterious fog of strange K, suddenly erupted spinning vortexes. They were conditions stirred up by the sword chi. A fierce wind arose, as if the dark clouds in the sky were pressing down ruthlessly. At this moment, XIXI had just collected the gold bricks, turned her head, and her tiny figure seemed to flutter unceasingly in the gale. XIXI's chubby cheeks were trembling. Ah! She was both shocked and furious. She sensed a strong scent of death. This little servant, she was aiming to kill XIXI. If XIXI were to die, how heartbroken her parents would be. How wicked! Anger rose in XIXI's heart. But at the same time, she was extremely cautious, daring not to underestimate the threat at all. Danger, so dangerous. The sword in the little servant's hand felt overwhelmingly threatening. However, facing the terrifying assault launched suddenly by Ji Haihui, XIXI's arms trembled violently. Refined immensely strong by the fusion soldier body refining by the purple flame serpentine spear, with the stamp of her feet, it was like thunder exploding. Her chubby fists clenched, purple light swirling, and purple flames spewed out instantly. Boom! Majestic purple flames furiously rolled, instantly transforming into an enormous purple giant cat. In these days, Li Che had given XIXI specialized training, not only in wielding the purple flame serpentine spear but also in imparting an understanding of the martial path subtly and imperceptibly to XIXI. Now XIXI's white tiger chaotic wind fist had already reached the transformation realm. One punch struck out. Remarkably stunning. The purple fierce tiger, mouth roaring, its force stirring the firmament, as if it intended to roar down the stars. It was difficult to imagine that this punch came from a 4-year-old girl. Sword light like a dragon, fist radiance like a tiger. The dragon and tiger roared as they collided. Ji Haihui's eyes, like purple mirrors, reflected flowing light, filled with a murderous aura. Seeing XIXI daring to resist his strike with the 4 imperial divine sword with just a punch, he found it outrageously arrogant. Your hand, you can lose it. Ji Haihui sneered. He was fully confident. Even though he couldn't mobilize the 4 imperial divine weapons, the sheer sharpness of them was enough to chop the girl into minced meat. What did it matter if her physique matched that of a grandmaster? At this moment, Ji Haihui hadn't limited his martial cultivation. The mysterious vein vibrated, blood gushed forth, and strong forces swirled within the sword light, unstoppable like a bamboo splitter. The reason he had lost to Li Nuangzai before was that he had sealed his cultivation, only showing his blood exchange level. If he had shown his mysterious vein cultivation, how could Li Nuangzai possibly be his match? How could he possibly have failed at paying respects to the mountain and become a laughingstock? All of his rage, at this moment, was fully vented. Clang! The fierce tiger fist and the dragon-shaped sword chi collided. Like thunder booming, the entire earth trembled. Countless mysterious fog surged up. The air seemed to turn into a rippled surface of water as ripples expanded in concentric circles from around both of them. Ji Haihui's expression kept changing. Impossible! He let out a voice stunned out of disbelief, even verging on a hysterical scream. This girl had actually blocked his strike with the prison lotus yin divine sword, infused with the 10,000 dragons subduing gods technique, by hand. Although Ji Haihui had only just learned the martial saint ultimate study of 10,000 dragons subduing gods and had not yet mastered it. But its power was not weak. Plus, the sharpness of the 4 imperial divine weapons material. How could this possibly be blocked? Clang! The sound of metal striking metal exploded, as if sparks were flying everywhere. XIXI clenched her fist, her eyes sparkling to the extreme. She stared at her right hand, brilliantly golden and seemingly indestructible, literally taking Ji Haihui's strike head-on. Although Ji Haihui's power from the realm of mysterious vein forced XIXI to step back several times. However, just this much had greatly satisfied XIXI. Clenching her golden fist, the look of excitement on XIXI's face was intense. Hey ha! Thud! XIXI took a heavy step down. Inside her tiny body, there seemed to hide a terrifying monster with a spine like a dragon, her arms one purple and one gold. Incredibly dazzling. The mysterious fog rolled, and as the air currents surged, XIXI threw another punch. Ji Haihui's hair flew about, and the surrounding purple dragon illusion seemed to raise its head and let out a long howl. As the sword light moved, the prison lotus yin divine sword vibrated again, the myriad sword lights brilliantly burst forth. Chapter 486. Die. Clang. The crisp sound exploded again. XIXI's arms crossed harshly to block and push out a hammering strike. You want to kill XIXI? XIXI will kill you. Daddy had said, if anyone bullies XIXI, she must not be afraid, she must bravely strike back. Daddy said, in the martial world, if someone else can take a hit, let them take it. XIXI of the Blood Exchange 6th shift didn't back down, she angrily shouted and swung her golden fists again. Ji Haihui, with the full power of the Dragon God's phantom, burned his Dragon God bloodline almost to its limits. An extremely angry roar, almost turning into a dragon's chant. The sword in his hand trembled slightly. Ji Haihui's heart surged with joy. It seemed there was some movement. Was this for royal divine weapon finally moved by him? However, the next moment, Ji Haihui's expression changed slightly. But then he saw that Li Nuangzai, left and right hands one purple and one golden light bursting forth. A spear spewing purple flames horizontally emerged with a roar. On the other side, there was a gold brick so brilliant it could almost blind his eyes. Ji Haihui's gaze was instantly drawn to the spear. His body couldn't stop trembling. This is A4 royal divine weapon. The third crown prince's fire-tip spear. How could you possibly have the fire-tip spear? Ji Haihui screamed. Boom! The prison lotus yin god sword, which already disliked him, offered no resistance and was directly subdued by the fire-tip spear. Then the oppressive rank of the four royal divine weapons, like angry howling waves in the river, nearly suffocated Ji Haihui. At the same time, XIXI had somehow made her way next to him unnoticed. Ji Haihui realized, his eyes nearly splitting in rage. He roared, and the purple dragon phantom exploded. The mystic vein's inner chi burst out in full force, his fingers spread, and the air seemed to split and shatter. Without his sword, he struck with both hands, manifesting the 10,000 dragons subduing gods. No wonder he had constantly failed to suppress Li Nuangzai when he wielded the prison lotus yin god sword. It turned out that Li Nuangzai also had a 4 royal divine weapon. But now, neither of them had a 4 royal divine weapon. On raw power, the advantage was his. Ji Haihui. Die! Ji Haihui howled. But the next moment, a brilliant golden light nearly blinded his eyes. XIXI, with her right hand, was excitedly swinging a gold brick. Ji Haihui only realized that the dragon phantom, powered by his dragon god bloodline, was futile. The gold brick kept enlarging before his eyes. He ignored his dragon god's protective aura, his mystic vein's inner chi, and even his majestic divinity. It was as if he was immune to everything. In the end, he was fiercely slapped right on the forehead. Bang! Blood sprayed, and a bloody mist exploded. Ji Haihui only felt an excruciating headache as a terrifying force brutally struck his head. A horrific shockwave, appearing as concentric circles, wildly swept out in a frightening manner. It was like an ancient divine being delivering a strike that pierced through Ti and He, causing the rivers above the heavens to spill down. Sputter! After being slapped by XIXI with a gold brick, Ji Haihui was ejected like a cannonball, leaving behind a burst of bloody mist at the spot where he had been. It did not dissipate for a long time. Amidst the mysterious fog, invisible waves swept out and expanded. Jiao Shaokaiu sat cross-legged beneath the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel, like a bright lamp, illuminating the surrounding area and preventing the dense strange cave fog from approaching. Woo! Horrible figures crossed through the mysterious fog, faintly revealing a powerful and terrifying presence. Even ghastly faces occasionally pushed against the fog from the other end. Jiao Shaokaiu sat with his legs crossed, eyes closed, chanting scriptures, his hands performing a sealing technique, continuously touching the joints of his fingers with his thumb. Suddenly, a wave of invisible force filled with dense qi and blood roared and drifted towards him, striking his face. Jiao Shaokaihu suddenly opened his eyes. A bloody smell. Temple God resonance. Why is there also a situation of them fighting each other? Jiao Shaokaihu frowned. Inside the strange K, it is rare to encounter the smell of blood, because those temple guardian cursed corpses no longer have any blood, and those creatures, tough-skinned and robust, unless during an attack on the temple, can be injured, causing them to bleed. On normal days, these creatures do not bleed. That bloody smell, undoubtedly, came from the children participating in the temple god resonance. What is happening? Could it be that the trial of the temple god is to have the children kill each other? Jiao Shaokaihu's eyes inevitably revealed a look of seriousness and worry. The situation now seemed to be heading for trouble. It would be best if it remained within controllable limits. Otherwise, once the four royal mysterious temples completely revolted, allowing those horrible temple guardian cursed corpses and creatures within the strange K to break out, then it would truly be a great disaster. The current Golden Light Prefecture city simply could not withstand the full chaos of one of the four royal mysterious temples. Feeling the continuously intensifying remnants of the clashes spreading out, Jiao Shaokaihu slowly exhaled a breath. All he hoped for now was for this session of the temple god resonance to end peacefully, without adding to the troubles. In the midst of the mysterious fog, remnants swept through. Every divine child participating in the temple god resonance looked different. Tai Shankei's eyes, mouth, and nose spurted flames, warping the surrounding fog and dispelling a slice of reality. He felt the shockwave mixed with a rich bloody smell. His eyes ablaze with flames suddenly burst forth with brilliant light. He raised his fingers, feeling the shockwaves of the mysterious fog brushing past, like invisible waves stirred within the water. Chapter 487. This is the Purple Flame Serpent Spear, Fire Tip Spear. The Great Supervising Minister is truly a divine calculator. He calculated this accurately. Tai Shankei was pleasantly surprised. His Kunkan jade flashed brightly, and in the next moment, a green banana leaf fan the size of a palm fell into his hands. He violently fanned towards the mysterious fog in front of him. Incredibly, he fanned out a straight path, and Tai Shankei, swaying his body, followed the route created by the fan. With the iron fan leading the way, he fanned wherever it felt wrong. Tai Shankei was relying on his keen senses to swiftly close in on the area where Xixi and Jihui were clashing. The Great Supervising Minister said the divine weapon best suited for me is the fire tip spear, and after careful calculation by my mother, it seems that only the third prince's mysterious temple in Golden Light Prefecture has the fire tip spear. Tai Shankei shook his head. Then he quickened his pace. He must get the purple flame serpent spear, fire tip spear into his hands. At this moment, inside the strange K, apart from Xixi and Jihui meeting, the other children hadn't encountered each other, each undergoing the normal temple god resonance. They felt the wretched voices coming from the temple god, and their expressions were changing. Little fatty Zhou Peng's heart trembled. To repay one's father by scraping bone, and one's mother by cutting flesh. I can't do it. Little fatty Zhou Peng's face was filled with helplessness. With this test of resonance out, little fatty Zhou Peng knew that this time the temple god resonance reward was probably not for him. Because he couldn't repay his parents by scraping bone and cutting flesh, not to mention it was too cruel, Zhou Peng felt he would be at a loss, since he was fat and had more flesh, and the kind of bones. Such an act would only make him more at a loss. So Zhou Peng chose to give up. Yuni was in a similar situation. To scrape bone and cut flesh, she couldn't do it. She was just trying to see if she could get some of the temple god's inheritance, not much, just a little would be enough. However, Yuni gave up at the thought of cutting flesh and scraping bone. Because now, she had neither father nor mother. Qin Fenghuo tilted his head. He chuckled mischievously. To repay one's father by scraping bone, and one's mother by cutting flesh. That's because they did wrong, your parents only see the common folk in their eyes, not you. You've caused a disaster, and the common folk have to be buried with you for your troubles, they can only abandon you to choose the world over you. The wrong ones are them, the wrong one is this world, what does it have to do with you? You're just a child. Qin Fenghuo's hand dangled in the pocket of his tunic as he chuckled. He scratched his face with his 5 fingers, and as his facial skin twisted, he tore it off to reveal a face with dark circles under the eyes. With 2 tufts of hair standing up like cannons, he walked with a bounce toward the Qin Feng Huo sitting in front of the mysterious temple. He slowly spread his hand with an indifferent attitude. Your parents are at fault, it is the common folk who are wrong, why should you scrape bone and cut flesh? You don't need to do this. Qin Feng Huo, with dark circles under his eyes, said cheerfully. Come. A wisp of the temple god's soul, come. Leave this place with me, I will let you indulge, I will take you to splurge. This world needs you. A wrong world should be thoroughly cleansed, not you carving flesh and picking bones for them. You are just a child, you are just naturally sincere. Come, follow me. We will carve the flesh of this world together, pick the bones of this world. Come on. My God. Liu Kai's entire body was trembling. On the distant steps of the mysterious temple, Liu Qi, with a sinister smile, sliced the flesh with his sword, blood spraying. Bone picking to repay one's father. Flesh carving to repay one's mother. Come on. Liu Qi, chuckling eerily, blood streaming down, his eyes bloody, staring dead at Liu Qi. Come on. Liu Kai's body was shaking uncontrollably. Tears were streaming down endlessly. He slowly stepped forward, each step seeming immensely difficult and painful. I know. I feel. I understand, your pain, reluctance, anger, and suffering. Liu Kai's legs were trembling. With each step he took, it was as if a blunt knife was slicing a piece of flesh from his body. The creaking sound of flesh being cut echoed in his ears, as if it was slashing at his soul. His soul was trembling. His eyes were streaming with rich tears. I understand. I empathize. Whatever I do from childhood has been wrong, in my father's eyes, everything I do is wrong. Father punishes me, mother scolds me. Why can't they understand me? I am their child after all. After 10 steps, Liu Qi was drenched in sweat, his round face twisted with emotion, tears flowing freely. I want power. Liu Qi said. Many noble families cultivate their offspring from birth, sealing a temple god inside them to grow up together, so that upon maturation, they can inherit the legacy of the temple god, becoming an unrivaled being of their rank. So does the imperial clan. But in the divine capital, not a single temple god chose me. Because I have no temple god within me, father despises me, mother loathes me, everything I do holds only faults, even when it's clearly right, they say it's wrong. I am not content. Liu Qi finally reached the face of Liu Qi, his complexion as white as a ghost, as if all his strength had been drained. His power was too minuscule in front of this Liu Qi. So minuscule that it seemed like a mere grain of sand facing a star. But yet, he was standing here. Liu Qi laughed. Come. Liu Qi offered the sword in his hand. Liu Qi, trembling, accepted the sword, tears streaming down incessantly. Chapter 488. Too many images flickered through his mind. Flashes of his master Li Qingshan, hunched in his blue robe, and thoughts of Nurse Momo, who kindly and tenderly sewed his clothes by lamplight at night. Thoughts of Xixi, with whom he played in the twist car, filled his eyes. Thoughts of the cold and commanding Uncle Li the bull demon. Thoughts of Aunt Zhang, whose cooking was so delicious and gentle like water. I'm sorry. Liu Kai's tears streamed down his face. But, being in the imperial family, he had no choice. He had to seize this last opportunity. The great supervising minister told him it was his only chance. Liu Qi reached out his hand. He grabbed the sword handed to him by Liu Qi. Boom! In an instant, the Black Lotus appeared, and atop the Black Lotus, Liu Qi transformed into a child clad in a black belly band, wickedly sitting upon it. His eyes were intense. Come on! Liu Qi gripped the bloodied sword. Pu Qi. Sword light flowed, slicing off a piece of flesh. MMPH. Liu Kai's face turned crimson, he bit down hard on his teeth. Come on! Come! Hiss 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 hiss. Blood pearls scattered. Falling onto the rolling mysterious fog, they burst open, like a blood lotus blooming in hell. Xixi gripped a golden brick. The brick flowed with golden light, dazzlingly splendid. With a grunt, she excitedly lifted her head. Little servant! Do you yield? In the distance, Ji Haihui's head was nearly exploding, his flesh muddled, and blood continuously flowed. He staggered to his feet. A dragon god illusory shadow surged, lifelike dragon scales spread and a tail coiled and laid out. Whipping the mysterious fog kept churning. Yield. Ji Hui sneered, his expression cold and venomous. Why should I yield? I am the son of Chaos King, the son of a dragon god clan princess. Why should I yield to a wild girl? I will kill you. I will flay your skin, pull out your tendons. I will have my father issue an order to wipe out the Golden Light sub-sect, to kill your entire family. To kill your mother, to kill your father. Ji Hui was filled with resentment. His eyes gradually became filled with anger and a deep red, he didn't even know why he was saying such things. But in fact, these were his true feelings. His status and identity, how could they be compared by this wild girl? The dragon god bloodline began to drive him mad, invading Ji Hui's will. But Ji Hui didn't care anymore, he completely relaxed his mind, allowing power to surge out from within his body. He wanted to kill this wild girl. He wanted to tear this wild girl apart. You dare to kill me? If you kill me, my father's black armored iron cavalry will flatten the Golden Light sub-sect, and everyone will be beheaded. Your father and mother, they will also be killed. Behead him. You dare to kill me? Xixi was gripping the gold brick, her whole body trembling, the anger causing it. At her young age, she had never heard such malicious words. She had never encountered such a malicious person. It wasn't just about killing Xixi. He wanted to slaughter the entire Golden Light sub-sect as well. He even wanted to kill her mother and father. It was too cruel. Xixi was very angry, very furious. With one hand clutching the gold brick and the other clenched into a fist, her face was flushed red with anger, and she trembled all over. Boom! In the distance. Purple flame serpent spear. With a clang. It struck the prison lotus yin divine sword. This sword immediately fell straight to the ground, playing dead very neatly. Then, the purple flame serpent spear shot forward. Xixi raised her hand, and with a squeeze of her fingers, she held the fire-tip spear in her hand. Purple flames spurted out from the spear, instantly wrapping around Xixi's body like a long purple ribbon. It lifted Xixi up, suspending her in air. She furrowed her brows sternly. But Xixi was still trembling, her eyes red-rimmed, tears almost falling. Because, the words of Ji Hui had still affected her. Killing Ji Hui. Ji Hui's father would lead a great army to annihilate Golden Light Peak, would kill the sect master, would kill Yin Yin. Would kill her father and mother. What should Xixi do? Kill him. Then, repay your father with his bones, and your mother with his flesh. Take all the blame upon yourself. Anyway, your father will blame your obstinacy, will think you are reckless, because your obstinacy has caused too many deaths and injuries in the Golden Light sect. Your mother will be disappointed in you, will no longer love you. Suddenly, a voice echoed abruptly by Xixi's ear. Xixi's body shook violently. Tears circled in her eyes, her lips pursed. Xixi was heartbroken. Xixi really wanted to kill the little servant girl. But then. But it's okay. Go on, kill him, devour all his divine talent. Behave recklessly, complete it all, and take all the blame yourself. Anyway, your father won't understand you, your mother won't love you again. Then you return flesh and bones to them. Be the real Xixi. The seductive voice echoed incessantly. Xixi's body trembled ceaselessly. Suddenly, a gentle voice echoed, overpowering the seductive voice by Xixi's ear. Naughty child, shut up. Xixi's body stopped shaking. She blinked her eyes, looking at a white chess piece that floated in front of her. The smooth white chess piece emitted a faint white glow. Then, a familiar and gentle voice echoed in Xixi's ear. Xixi, my dear, don't be afraid. Whoever hits you, hit them back, whoever wants to kill you, kill them, don't let yourself be wronged. Forget the greater good, forget the big picture, leave it to others. Daddy's here. Chapter 489. Crack crack. Above the sky, lightning snakes slithered, and fierce winds howled. Although separated by an invisible force, the torrential rain that plummeted down washed and hammered with a sound like barrage of machine gun fire, exploding in everyone's ears in unison. Atop listening Fury Cliff, numerous carriages stood in line. The horses of the flood dragon lineage were restless and agitated, yet they dared not make too many movements, only occasionally stamping their hooves in place. Many people present were engulfed in silence, lost in thought. After all, the brief glimpse of the temple god resonance they had just witnessed had indeed shocked many minds. It was somewhat unexpected. Many cultivators who came to watch the excitement in Golden Light Prefecture felt a little down. Mainly because Li Nuangzai, the Jiazi divine child of Golden Light Prefecture, seemed to have performed poorly in this temple god resonance event. She hadn't even taken a single step and failed to resonate with the temple god at all. On the contrary, Qin Fenghuo of the Qin family, who was not highly regarded, had managed to reverse expectations and climb to the forefront during this temple god resonance event. For the cultivators of Golden Light Prefecture, the temple god resonance took place in their own prefecture. The eight-armed prison lotus furious third prince was the temple god of Golden Light Prefecture. The divine and spirit children of Golden Light Prefecture naturally wanted to show a higher degree of resonance. It was a competition for glory. Nan Luo and King Taoist frowned, both of them were also shocked by Xixi's temple god resonance result. They seemed to be somewhat puzzled. But Xixi has a disappointing result in the temple god resonance, how could this Qin Fenghuo have such a performance? Nan Luo's white hair was flying, his eyebrows deeply furrowed in confusion. Something might have happened to Xixi. But then again, Xixi's talent is apparent for all to see, a Jiazi divine child, with extremely high divine talent. And Qin Fenghuo? He is just a supreme spiritual child, not yet a Jiazi divine child. By what means does he chase up the divine child ranking? As for Liu Qi, it seemed that Nan Luo and others knew some inside information, and did not make too many comments. There is something off about Qin Fenghuo, Nan Luo stated confidently. King Taoist flicked his dust whisk and rolled his eyes. Could it not simply be that the kid has a high degree of temple god resonance? Temple god resonance. Divine talent does not explain everything, Nan Luo shook his head, it's impossible. The Qin family does not have such a degree of temple god resonance either. King Taoist laughed, that's your prejudice. Nan Luo's gaze suddenly swept toward the area where the Qin family carriages were parked, where the carriages sat quietly, with the light curtains gently stirred by the breeze. The silhouette of the person sitting inside the carriage could be seen indistinctly. Despite feeling that something was off, Nan Luo did not show any reaction, his eyes turned, once again looking towards the river surface where the mysterious fog surged. Although the mysterious fog was dense and obscured the trails of many divine children, the mysterious temple situated in the heart of the river was unmistakably clear. As if nothing in the world could hide the presence of the mysterious temple. Who? Inhale. Li Che sat atop the shaft of the carriage. His eyes opened and closed slightly, as if faint glimmers of light interwove in the depths of his eyes. At this moment, he was immersed in the heaven and earth chessboard. Through the thunder chess piece left on Xixi, he was observing Xixi's situation after the mysterious fog enveloped her again. He was not the least bit worried about Xixi's almost zero resonance displayed in the previous temple god resonance. Li Che knew why Xixi had no resonance. It was because Xixi had stubbornly resisted the lure of the temple god resonance and remained unmoved, even opposing the temple god. Such actions were bound to result in zero resonance. But in fact, she was just short of an opportunity. Sometimes, to resonate with a temple god requires an emotion, an action, an attitude. Therefore, Li Che was unconcerned. Moreover, even if there was really no resonance with the temple god, what of it? Xixi had one of the four royal divine weapons, the purple flame serpent spear, hidden in her arm. So, even without temple god resonance, it wouldn't affect Xixi much. Li Che's mind sank into the heaven and earth chessboard. Over the intersecting chessboard, the images reflected and emerged. He saw Xixi moving bricks. A gold brick. This gold brick. Li Che's heart stirred slightly. Because of the distance, he was unable to use his star-plucking pupil to detect the composition of the gold brick. But, without a doubt, this thing was definitely one of the three crown princes' divine armor set, and its power was extremely formidable. Li Che saw how obediently the purple flame serpentine spear released flames to help Xixi burn the gold brick and move it. A satisfied smile appeared on his face. The purple flame serpentine spear, as expected, had been trained well. It had become much more sensible. It knew how to seek benefits for its wielder. Indeed, it needed discipline, spare the rod and spoil the child. This fire-tip spear became obedient after being disciplined, it matured. If it were the fire-tip spear from when it had just entered Xixi's arm, Although it recognized XIXI as its master, it took advantage of the fact that XIXI had no backup. Facing this treasure gold brick, it would probably not show the slightest attitude. Then, it would have been difficult for XIXI to subdue this gold brick. So, Li Che was very satisfied with the performance of the fire-tip spear. However, Li Che's eyes soon sharpened. Because he saw Ji Haihui's arrival. Clutching a jet-black sword that was so sharp it felt like it could cut through his primordial spirit just by looking at it, emerging from the mysterious fog. Li Che's expression turned cold in an instant. Just by looking at the stance, he knew what Ji Haihui intended to do. Chapter 490. And Li Che guessed what the third crown prince wanted to test XIXI for. This is not a test for XIXI. It's a test for me as a father. Li Che's expression was calm. Completely unperturbed. Because, in his heart, he had known the answer from the very beginning. His daughter. His spoiled child. As a father, is it neither viewing his daughter nor pushing her towards an abyss that he should do? What great causality, what great righteousness, to Li Che, none of that mattered. He was just a regular father, who only wanted his daughter not to be bullied. Moreover, had his daughter done anything wrong? Ziji loved to fight and loved fireworks because, as a divine child, her wisdom opened early, and she was smarter than other children. She was also playful and greedy. But she also understood reason, knew right from wrong, and understood the importance of events. She could think and empathize. So even if XIXI really did something wrong, there would certainly be a reason why, and as a father, what Li Che needed was just to trust his daughter unconditionally and protect her. XIXI was different from the third crown prince. He, Li Che, was also different from the heavenly king. His gaze opened and closed. Watching XIXI defeat Ji Haihui, using a gold brick to smash Ji Haihui until blood splattered, yet he cursed wildly and arrogantly talked about killing XIXI's entire family. Li Che suddenly smiled. The third prince temple god's deception towards XIXI, Li Che naturally also heard it very clearly. This was an erosion of divine power. The third prince temple god wanted to erode XIXI in this manner. Looking at XIXI at this moment, with tears streaming down, entangled in anger, yet also worried about the deaths of her mom and dad. Li Che's heart ached. My daughter doesn't need flesh carved from bone. Because, even if she was really wrong, all the righteousness supersedes, so the greater good is as overwhelming as the skies. As a father, I will stand in the forefront. Li Che said softly. Dad is here. Daddy said he would protect you forever. We even Pinky swore on it. Daddy. Ziji, her eyes still wet with tears, clutching the fire-tip spear and a gold brick, suddenly became excited. Her eyes brightened, hearing the words her father had spoken. Her heart suddenly, like a balloon being inflated, was stuffed full with joy. Daddy is here. Daddy has always been here. XIXI suddenly felt empowered, lifted her chin, and her eyes sparkled anew with light. She felt no more conflict or pain. She no longer cried, because her father had said, if someone hurt her, she should hurt them back. If someone wanted to kill her, she would kill them. XIXI didn't need to suffer. Boom. At that moment, XIXI's essence, chi, and spirit became incredibly agitated, as if boiling and burning. Her gaze locked onto Ji Haihui, whose visage had turned ferocious, completely controlled by the dragon god bloodline. You little maid! I'll kill you! XIXI's fury tumbled, all she wanted now was to kill Ji Haihui. Because this little maid threatened her father and mother's life, if it had been before, she would have hesitated. But now her father had arrived. Her father told her she could strike freely, with her father there. XIXI believed in her father. So. Kill him. Bang. The red belly band flapped in the wind, XIXI's feet stomped forward, and countless rolls of mysterious fog surged up. In that moment, XIXI's body started to emit an extremely brilliant radiance. As though she had transformed into the blazing sun. The fire-tip spear roared and howled, purple flames twined up around it like long silk ribbons encircling her body. From afar, Ji Haihui's eyes turned blood red, and fine scales seemed to grow on his skin. His face became extremely ferocious with protruding fangs, and his spine continuously arched up like fish fins breaking through flesh. It was as if a low thunder rumbled forth from his body, his tendons grinding continuously, bones twisting and colliding. In this moment, Ji Haihui had fully entered the dragon god state, his aura climbing steadily, surpassing the mysterious vein and the divine vein. He had reached the master level. Ji Haihui's eyes instantly turned clear purple, pupils radiating golden light, like scattered golden ink twisting and spreading out, appearing in the purple eye as three petal-like shapes. Die! Letting the dragon god bloodline take full control over his body, Ji Haihui bellowed. A powerful stream of air burst forth, the divine power and blood qi diffusing over his body surged like river tides, lashing fiercely. Whoosh! Moving like a crawling creature, using all four limbs, he began to run at high speed. With a flick of his dragon tail, Ji Haihui's figure disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, with a powerful leap, the dragon claw, covered in purple scales, had already struck out. He struck the air itself, cracking it open as if a multitude of dragons were dancing. The burst of power in that instant made it seem as if the mysterious fog underfoot had been torn apart. Roar, roar, roar! The sound of the dragon's chant echoed around, the mysterious fog dispersed, and within the surging river below, there seemed to be shadows of dragons appearing. Oppressive, stifling, terrifying. It made it hard for one to breathe. This was the pure power of the dragon god, a mighty force as substantial as the devastating strength in that claw, cascading and flowing. Ji Haihui's body even showed a strange distortion, a sign that his physical form couldn't bear the runaway state of the dragon god bloodline. However, Xixi was neither afraid nor desperate. With the gold brick in her hand, she fiercely swiped it towards the claw that Ji Haihui had thrown. Chapter 491. Boom! The collision was too fast. It was impossible to imagine this was a fight between a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. It was much more intense than a clash between ordinary grandmasters. In an instant, the violent wind, like a shaken carpet, continuously trembled, forming waves that surged and spread. 3 zhang, 5 zhang, 10 zhang. Around the point of impact, the mysterious fog rose like an upside-down mushroom cloud, shooting dozens of meters high. Li Nuangzai! Die! The hoarse roar exploded from the twisted face of Ji Haihui. His killing intent was at its peak. It was even more like a kind of obsession that almost fused with instinct. Kill! 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 The dragon claw collided with the gold brick, instantly bursting apart, but at this moment, Ji Haihui seemed to know no pain. With a whip of his dragon tail, it struck like an extremely sharp divine whip toward Xixi's head. Crack! 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 Muffled sonic booms continuously exploded, generating burst after burst of air current. In Xixi's hands, the purple flame serpentine spear fire-tip spear suddenly thrust out with extreme speed. Li Che had specifically taught Xixi spear techniques, passing on his own understanding of spearmanship after organizing it. After all, from the moment the purple flame serpentine spear fire-tip spear was concealed in Xixi's arms, Li Che knew that Xixi and spearmanship could not be separated. The Li family's 8 consecutive bone-breaking spears. Already improved by Li Che into superior martial arts, Xixi mastered them to at least a master's standard. The tip of the spear spat out flames, fiercely stabbing toward the dragon tail. The dragon tail exploded in an instant. Struck and shattered to pieces. The purple flame serpentine spear fire-tip spear, as one of the 4 royal divine weapons, although Xixi couldn't fully control it yet, was undoubtedly powerful. Furthermore, it had been trained by Li Che. Xixi could even unleash some of its might. The dragon god bloodline brought about tough illusions, and even, Ji Haihui had the hard scales of the dragon clan. But to Xixi's fire-tip spear, they were extremely fragile. After 2 unsuccessful strikes, Ji Haihui's 3-flower dragon god pupil rotated, and he fiercely slammed his limbs on the ground, spinning his body at high speed, clenching his fists and throwing a punch with the inertia of his flesh. It was as if 10,000 dragon phantoms were winding on it. Under the full force of the dragon god bloodline, Ji Haihui executed the martial saint ultimate study, 10,000 dragons subduing gods. It was indeed terrifyingly powerful. But Xixi had the 4 royal divine weapons. She blocked with her long spear, colliding with Ji Haihui's fist, both their bodies trembling. Bang! 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 Ji Haihui, like a madman, continuously pounded with his fists as if there were dragons' shadows roaring and pouncing constantly. The punches were like strong crossbow bolts firing incessantly. Even Xixi was now so pressured she could only keep blocking with her spear horizontally. Clang! 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 The sound of the collision, like iron striking, the dragon tail reformed and whipped down again. Ji Haihui was fully overtaken by the power of the dragon god, now rampant and surging. His chi and physical body were extremely robust, like a demon. In terms of cultivation level, Ji Haihui was already stronger than XIXI, and now with the power of the dragon god bloodline assisting him, he was simply unstoppable. XIXI, although wielding the 4 royal divine weapons, was ultimately too weak to unleash their full power. XIXI was also somewhat angry. The purple flame serpentine spear seemed to sense XIXI's rage. The transformed fire serpent suddenly writhed up and opened its mouth to let out a hiss. That silent hiss seemed as though it was about to thunderously explode. The next instant, countless mists were torn apart, accompanied by the clashing sound of chains rattling. Immediately thereafter, the golden wheel spun rapidly, scattering endless bursts of firelight. It was as if a phoenix, entwined in unyielding chains, responded to the call of the fire serpent, spreading its wings to rise. Countless mysterious fogs were torn apart. The cry of the phoenix exploded, instantly shooting out from the endless mysterious fog. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ji Haihui, who was in the midst of throwing punches, was instantly swept over, slamming sideways and flying out. The golden wheel. Flames burning, the continuously spinning golden fire wheel. The second wheel, prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel. Boom, boom, boom. XIXI, wielding the fire tip spear, stepped onto a golden light wheel. In an instant, she vanished from the spot like lightning. The speed wasn't too fast, but she had completely widened the distance. XIXI, catching her breath, put away the gold brick, then with a clench of her fingers, she suddenly embraced the huge pink mechanism in her arms. It was the pink, XIXI's custom Divine Craftsman Fire God Gatling Cannon. XIXI, having widened the distance. XIXI, wobbling on a wind-fire golden light wheel, though unaccustomed to flying. Yet at this moment, her eyes gradually dazzled with splendor. Ji Haihui, born with the bloodlines of the dragon god and the martial saint. XIXI didn't have them, so there was no helping it, she could only rely on divine weapons and mechanism to make up for it. Boom, boom, boom. 6 barrels of the fire god's angry Jiao cannon suddenly heated up, radiating a dazzling pink glow. Then they spewed forth roaring blue light. With the high-speed rotation, terrifying shells instantly exploded. Once Ji Haihui fully unleashed his dragon god bloodline, his speed became too fast, however. With the help of the fire tip spear, XIXI summoned the second round of the golden light wheel, and even though it was a single wheel, once accustomed, her flying speed was not slow. Bang! An explosion suddenly occurred. Smoke billowed, and the horrifying shockwave ravaged everything around. A muffled grunt. The body of Ji Haihui, covered in dragon scales, was suddenly blasted with spurting blood, and he was flung away with tremendous force. Rat-a-tat-a-ta. Then there was XIXI, standing on a single wheel, unleashing a wild barrage on him. The blue light sprayed out. Tongues of flame furiously lashed out. One after another, avalanche cross ravens kept surging out, engulfing Ji Haihui. Chapter 492. One after another, the most splendid fireworks exploded on the spot. Divinity raged wildly, accompanied by Ji Haihui's excruciating screams of agony. After releasing a full hundreds of rounds, XIXI, her complexion slightly pale, finally stopped the onslaught of the fire god cannon. She gasped for air, large beads of sweat covering her cheeks. So tired. But these fireworks were so much fun to set off. XIXI's heart grew even more excited. She was coming to like setting off fireworks more and more. The mysterious fog churned, and the will of the third prince temple god seemed to have fallen into silence. Perhaps, it had not expected XIXI to defeat Ji Haihui, who had stimulated his dragon god bloodline, in such a manner. It was still waiting for XIXI to no longer endure and then to start tempting her again, persuading XIXI to accept its power. Dust and smoke rolled, and a tumultuous wind suddenly burst through the fog, tearing apart the smog, revealing Ji Haihui with his skin split open and flesh torn, blood flowing everywhere on the ground. The dragon god aspect had been violently beaten away by XIXI. Ji Haihui lay on the ground, his chest heaving violently. His eyes had completely lost their light. He had lost again. Despite giving it his all and even letting the dragon god bloodline fully take over his body, he had still lost. Ji Haihui's face twisted. He slowly straightened up, staring intently at Xixi. Li Nuangzai. You don't dare to kill me, right? However, a blazing inferno surged. Xixi, with bare feet atop a unicycle, looked down upon Ji Haihui. In the moment Ji Haihui's eyes narrowed. Xixi's fire-tip spear thrust down fiercely. Puchi! The center of Ji Haihui's brow was instantly pierced by Xixi's spear. The air itself seemed to freeze at that moment. Ji Haihui was stunned, like a wooden chicken. The stabbing pain in his forehead, the rapid dissolution of his consciousness, and the departure of his life's breath, made him finally awaken. He broke free from the erosion of the temple god's power, his body trembling uncontrollably. But life did not give him any more time. Darkness swallowed all of his consciousness. He died. The wind howled. In the area of the city lord's mansion, a luxurious carriage was parked quietly. Inside the carriage, Su Huili and Shadow Guard true person sat silently. Suddenly, the Shadow Guard true person, shrouded in darkness, started to tremble violently. Su Huili seemed to sense something too, his complexion turning deathly pale in an instant. No. No. Impossible. How can this be? A roar emerged from Su Huili's mouth. He rushed out of the carriage. But the speed of Shadow Guard true person was even faster. Boom. Upon exiting the carriage, Divine Element true person's immense pressuring aura swept out in an instant, and a Shen Yuan golden elixir emerged, dazzling like a proud sun. Young prince! An agonizing roar. Shadow Guard true person kept growling. King Taoist Liu Yao and both Divine Element true persons erupted with their aura instantly. From the Temple Control Bureau, Zhu Chaoyang's Divine Gang soared through the skies, tearing through the clouds, his sturdy body wrapped in Divine Gang as if chaotic streams were intertwining. Shadow Guard! What do you think you're doing? Zhu Chaoyang shouted coldly. Liu Yao and Wang Kuyu, the two Divine Element true persons, pressed forward, forcing Shadow Guard true person's aura to be completely suppressed. However, atop Listening Fury Cliff Stone, the situation had turned completely stormy and tense to the extreme. Everyone felt so repressed they could hardly breathe. Because, this was a clash at the level of Divine Element true persons. Su Huili also rushed out of the carriage, staring at the mysterious fog rolling over Nine Dragons River, his body trembling slightly. Suddenly understanding something, a chill emerged from the depths of his eyes. Dead. The young prince is dead. Someone killed the young prince. The enraged roars of Shadow Guard struck like thunder upon the listening fury cliff stone, stunning the mighty figures from all factions, causing their hair to stand on end, and everyone's complexion to change. What? The son of King of Quelling Chaos Ji Moli. Dead. Boom. The fire-tip spear that pierced through Ji Haihui's brow and shredded the inner scene of his energy center along with his brain substance suddenly erupted with purple flames, forming a crazed and greedy purple great snake that devoured all of Ji Haihui's divine purple energy. Spurt! Xixi pulled out the fire-tip spear, its tip still dripping with crystal clear blood pearls. Xixi gasped for breath, mouth gaping open. Her eyes slightly dazed, her little hand holding the spear trembling uncontrollably. Xixi had killed. This was the first time Xixi had personally taken a life. She felt somewhat at a loss. Fortunately Master Niu had taught her. So, she managed to stay relatively calm, despite the turmoil within. Even forgetting to collect Ji Haihui's Qunkan jade. But murder aside, Xixi was not wrong. Rumble. And at the very moment Ji Haihui died, the entire mysterious fog suddenly started to roll tumultuously. Atop Ji Haihui's lifeless body, there were two extremely terrifying auras rising. One aura manifested as a tall and powerful figure, standing there as if it were an immense mountain. The other aura transformed directly into a winding divine dragon, accompanied by countless torrents of water gushing out. Roar! My son! An extremely agonizing roar exploded from the mouth of that dragon shadow. An overwhelming pressure instantly crashed down, making Xixi feel as if she was wavering like a leaf in a storm even while standing on the golden light wheel, unable to maintain her posture. The golden light wheel turned into a streak of firelight and merged into Xixi's little feet. Xixi landed on the mysterious fog. And the surrounding mysterious fog erupted like formidable waves. XIXI, tiny in size, felt as insignificant as a speck of dust in the face of this moment's formidable presence. The towering golden figure and the vast divine dragon shadow gave XIXI an overwhelming oppression. Chapter 493. It nearly forced XIXI to kneel to the ground. Ha ha ha. The show has started. Dare to curse a temple god? See if you dare to come. You definitely won't dare, because if you do, you'll die. Everyone must die, unless XIXI flays the flesh and strips the bone to sever all ties with you and appease the wrath. Otherwise, everyone must die. From within the strange cave, the sound of a child's snickering laughter echoed. And the burly shadow that darted from Ji Haihui's corpse, grasped its 5 fingers, and instantly, the faint dead prison lotus yin god sword trembled. Despite the resistance, it shot out, held in the hand of the towering figure. In an instant, the presence nearly solidified into something tangible. Ji Moli. My son is dead. My son is dead, are you satisfied now? I want her dead. Otherwise, I will have the entire Golden Light Prefecture city accompany my son in burial. The dragon shadow roared. The towering golden figure held the yin divine sword, unmoved by the mad dragon god apparition. The eyes opened and lifted, forcefully landing on XIXI. Cold, ruthless, devoid of emotion. Strip the flesh and bone. The indifferent voice echoed from the figure's mouth. He threw the yin divine sword in hand. As long as XIXI used the yin divine sword to flay her flesh and strip her bones, she would achieve the highest degree of temple god resonance and receive the temple god's sacred inheritance. The power and inheritance that belonged to the temple god would then be transferred onto the yin divine sword, swallowed and captured by it, and then owned by him. The task of Ji Haihui's journey to the Golden Light Prefecture's 4 royal mysterious temple was thus perfectly completed. As if losing a son meant nothing to him. Everything was but a chess piece for him to achieve his objective. He knew that a son with the dragon god bloodline who came to the 3rd prince's mysterious temple would certainly not leave alive. But he sent Ji Haihui anyway. Humming. The throne prison lotus yin god sword slowly floated in front of XIXI. The towering, mighty figure looked on impassively. Take the sword, commit suicide. Flay the flesh, strip the bone. Atone. The words carried a command. An unquestionable order. XIXI, so small, seemed to be rolling in a storm, viciously battered by the wind and rain. XIXI glared with wide eyes. She refused to submit. And furthermore, XIXI didn't want to flay her flesh and strip her bones. XIXI had done nothing wrong. What was XIXI's crime? The little girl, tiny in stature, stood staunchly amidst the wild storm, leaning forward, her red belly band clinging tightly to her little belly, her hands clenched into small fists, glaring fiercely. Suddenly, the oppressive sensation like that of an overturning sea vanished without a trace. XIXI, taken aback, looked up. There she saw a familiar, broad back appearing before her at some unknown moment, protecting her against all the oppression and the storm. The dark robe fluttered and whipped the air with explosive noises. Li Che held his hand clenched in the gesture of holding a chess piece, calmly standing before XIXI, blocking her path like an impregnable wall, stopping the wind and rain, blocking the thunder, fulfilling the promise of a father to his daughter. Daddy! XIXI gently called out. I'm here. Li Che reached out, smiling while ruffling the little girl's head. Daddy is here. Amidst the little girl's radiant and admiring smile, Li Che slowly turned around, reached out, and grasped the prison lotus yin god sword, which the martial saint apparition had sent for XIXI to use to commit suicide and flay her flesh and bones. Not a bad sword, Li Che remarked in admiration. The brown Iwan moved slightly within his chest. The chess Saint Deo fruit that had reached level LV4 throbbed vigorously. Li Che unhesitatingly absorbed this 4 royal divine weapon directly into the heaven and earth chessboard. The sword was good. It now belonged to someone with the surname Li. Chapter 494. Boom! The roaring sound of the river rushing by exploded in everyone's ears. Above the vast sky, there was rain being poured down, crashing relentlessly, like countless furious bullets, relentlessly pelting down. The listening Fury Cliffstone truly heard the endless sounds of rage. It was the furious roar of the 6 black-armored blood guards unsheathing their horse-slaying sabers, bursting in everyone's ears, resonating non-stop, as loud as thunder. The faces of the many cultivators from the Golden Light Prefecture turned ashen. The 6 black armored blood guards brought by young Prince Ji Haihui, each one a master at the peak of a master's level, had cultivated their blood and qi to the extreme, practicing the same dharma. With the combined blood and qi of the 6, they were no weaker than any master of divine gang. Even in terms of their majestic aura, they were even more terrifying. After all, it was the unity of 6. The incessant roar echoed like thunderous shock waves. All martial artists felt their blood and qi uncontrollably surging, and many divine cultivators sensed their divinity shaking. The Shadow Guard true person rose into the air, with 3 powerful figures blocking him on the opposite side. Liu Yao, King Taoist, and Zhu Chaoyang from the Temple Control Bureau. 2 divine element true persons, 1 master of divine gang. Such a lineup indeed gradually calmed the Shadow Guard true person down. But the anger could be felt by all. Mixed with fear, desperation, and sorrow within the anger. Your Excellency, calm down. The temple god resonance has not yet ended, and nobody knows the situation inside. Wang Kuyu said gravely. Jiao Shaokayu entered the strange K, so now, it was necessary for Wang Kuyu to step forward. After all, he, Wang Kuyu, was the only divine element true person of the divine sect in public. As for the great Grand Master Charioteer who had always been protecting Jiao Shaokayu, at this moment, there was not the slightest movement from him. About this charioteer, unless something threatening Jiao Shaokayu happened, he would not have any intention of taking action. But at least, the presence of this great Grand Master was their confidence. Even if the Shadow Guard true person was strong, he surely couldn't handle 2 divine primordials and 2 great Grand Masters alone, right? The young prince is dead. Qian Yuan Divine Sect. You can't escape responsibility, you must give the prince an explanation. The body of the Shadow Guard true person trembled violently. He had never thought that the young prince would die. After all, the young prince had so many life-saving methods, and the secret trump card left to the young prince by the old prince. But the reality was that the young prince was dead. Before they set out, they all left their divine sense on the young prince, and the black armored blood guards left their essence blood. As soon as something happened to the young prince, they would immediately receive the news. And with the young prince's death, they could sense it even more clearly. Desperation. The Shadow Guard true person, a prestigious divine element true person, at this moment, felt a surge of fear. He couldn't imagine how he would explain to the prince upon returning to Jizhu, or how he would explain to the princess consort. The sky is falling. The fall of a royal heir would incite great rage in the prince. Not just the Shadow Guard true person, but even the 6 black armored blood guards, who had never shown much emotional fluctuation, at this moment, also trembled with fear. They felt as if they were sensing the prince's raging fury, as terrifying as stars falling from the sky. Qian Yuan Divine Sect, must give us an explanation. The Shadow Guard true person said solemnly. Wang Kuyu's heart suddenly sank. Liu Yao and Zhu Chaoyang exchanged glances, their eyes flashing with an unusual light. Shit! It seems it's true. Not just a pretense. Young Prince Ji Haihui really died in this temple god resonance. The temple god resonance is never 100% safe affair. All children are informed of its dangers before they participate in the trial of the temple god resonance. If the young prince insisted on participating and something happened, how could it be blamed on the divine sect? Perhaps he died at the hands of the temple guardian cursed corpses. After all, the young prince had the bloodline of the dragon god flowing in him. Maybe one of the temple guardian cursed corpses didn't like the dragon clan bloodline. Nan Luo said indifferently. His face was impassive, but inside, he was almost bursting with joy. Ji Haihui is dead? Ji Moli's youngest son is gone. The heavens are just. Nan Luo felt as refreshed as if he had drunk a mouthful of ice-cold watermelon juice on a blistering summer day, his whole body exhilarated down to every pore. Shut up! Nan Luo, you shut up! Su Huili barked ferociously. He glared fiercely at Nan Luo, with killing intent seeping from his pupils, as if finally no longer hiding it. Vicious killing intent, insane thoughts, washed over Nan Luo like a tidal wave. Yet, Nan Luo just smiled broadly. He got what he deserved. Nan Luo's provocation gave Wang Kuyu a headache. He was only out on a mission, and if he made an enemy of the divine sect like King Pingluan. When he returned to the divine sect, he feared that he would face severe criticism, or even be sent to the back mountain for reflection. No. How could this happen? Normally, heirs of a prince are called princes as well, unless they have hereditary rights that cannot be replaced, they are referred to as young princes. This indicates that Ji Haihui's status in the old Prince Ji Moli's regard was definitely not mediocre. The Shadow Guard true person's intent to kill surged, and the 6 black armored blood guards also stood with their swords drawn. I want to tear apart the mysterious fog. I want to see, how exactly did the young prince die? Boom! The Shen Yuan golden elixir floated, bursting with dazzling light and heat. Majestic divinity, like a tidal wave, swept through everything. Do you intend to kill the other divine children? However, with the Shadow Guard true person taking such a strong stance, wishing to tear apart the mysterious fog, Liu Yao and Zhu Chaoyang were both enraged. Chapter 495. Wang Kuyu also made his move in an instant. For a moment, the wind and rain intensified suddenly, and the great river roared angrily, causing all the surrounding vegetation to bow down. 3 Shen Yuan golden elixirs floated, shining like the sun and the moon, dazzlingly brilliant. 6 black armored blood guards simultaneously clenched their horse-slaying sabers in both hands, their killing intent rampant as if they had transformed into the phantom of a black armored divine general, rising across the sky. Zhu Chaoyang snorted angrily from his nostrils. In an instant, it was as if thunder exploded in the sky. The body of the great Grand Master emitted extreme light and heat, stepping out with a presence that overshadowed the world. One man's presence overshadowed 6 black armored blood guards. Above the listening fury cliff stone, tension was as tight as a drawn bow. At any moment, a great battle could erupt. Boom! Within the heaven and earth chessboard. On the interwoven chessboard, a pitch-black ancient sword, resembling a black hole, suddenly appeared. Numerous sword lights burst forth, each one extremely dark, like ink made from soot, impenetrably deep. Humming buzzing. The sword hummed and trembled as if resisting, shaking, trying to tear through space and leave this place. Sword chi erupted, blooming like a lotus from hell within the heaven and earth chessboard. Prison lotus. Boom! In that instant, countless white pure heart divine chess pieces, under Li Chai's single thought, moved sideways, transforming into thousands of falling meteors, rapidly approaching the prison lotus yin god sword. It was as if they were trying to suppress it, just like the 7 elemental corpse curse mother-child seal, subduing this 4 royal divine weapon. Crack crack crack! Pieces of white pure heart divine chess pieces exploded. They exploded into a thick divine mist, shrouding the chessboard. Just a single slash of sword chi seemed to have the terrifying power to easily slit the void open. This was the 4 royal divine weapons autonomously resisting. Within the heaven and earth chessboard, Li Chai's primordial spirit sat cross-legged, hovering in midair. His eyes opened and closed, his gaze flickering. Li Chai looked on indifferently. Why he took the initiative to seize this 4 royal divine weapon, the prison lotus yin god sword? It was because Li Chai sensed that the source of power of that martial saint phantom came from this sword. Ji Moli seemed to have set it up long ago. Once Ji Haihui died, this sword would trigger the martial saint bloodline within Ji Haihui's body, causing the pre-stored martial saint phantom to emerge. If this sword were not sealed, the power of the martial saint phantom would continue to surge until it reached an extremely terrifying level. Under those circumstances, even Li Chai might have headaches. Thus, as soon as Li Chai made his move, his target was the prison lotus yin god sword. Had Ji Moli refined this 4 royal divine weapon yet? Li Chai guessed, probably not. But even if he really had, so what? Once into the heaven and earth chessboard, they took the surname Li. Beast. Li Chai's primordial spirit was cold. Watching the incessant struggling, bursting with towering sword chi that seemed to want to sever and shatter the heaven and earth chessboard, he shouted sharply. Raising his hand, he pointed at the center of his brow. A dense mass of pure heart divine chess pieces thunderously descended. Instantly, they transformed into a dense net that spread out. Yet the greatest confidence Li Chai dared to bring this 4 royal divine weapon into the heaven and earth chessboard was not the pure heart divine chess pieces. It was equal to heaven's face. A mythical weapon just the same. Li Chai's primordial spirit leapt forth, sensing and manipulating equal to heaven's face, moving closer to the prison lotus yin divine sword. As expected, equal to heaven's face began to vibrate. It was as if an ancient being had awoken from its slumber, much like the most spiritually exquisite stone between heaven and earth, suddenly exploding. Equal to heaven's face suddenly shot forth, turning into a streak of light, fiercely covering over the face of Li Chai's primordial spirit. He closed his eyes, then opened them wide. His eyes displayed dazzling flowing gold, as if supremely spectacular golden flames were fiercely burning from within his pupils. Li Chai's primordial spirit, wearing equal to heaven's face, felt his aura climb incrementally. He appeared above the prison lotus yin divine sword. With a handful of monkey fur, he fiercely pressed down and sat down heavily. The prison lotus yin divine sword. It struggled for a while, then chose to give up and slump. Just like that time inside Strange K, after being stabbed by the fire-tip spear twice, it slumped similarly. This was a sword that liked to slump frequently. With a wave of his hand, the pure heart divine chess pieces floated around the yin divine sword. The yin divine sword gradually calmed down. It no longer moved, nor struggled. Equal to heaven's face, thus, finally left Li Chai's primordial spirit and quietly hovered, no longer making any movements. Li Chai's primordial spirit's eyes flickered, as if savoring the feeling of wearing equal to heaven's face. This feeling even further advanced his understanding of the martial saint ultimate study primordial equal to heaven's staff. Inside Strange K, the mist surged and washed away. Li Chai's eyes gleamed faintly, maintaining his hold on the prison lotus yin divine sword. In his mind, it was like a flash of lightning, his primordial spirit had worn equal to heaven's face and suppressed the prison lotus yin divine sword. Li Chai's expression became slightly peculiar. This situation, in fact, was somewhat beyond his expectations. Li Chai intended to store the yin divine sword within the heaven and earth chessboard, merely planning to use the power of the mythical weapon, equal to heaven's face, coupled with the power of the pure heart divine chess pieces, to suppress the yin divine sword. But he had not thought it would go so smoothly. Could it be that equal to heaven's face, having stayed in his heaven and earth chessboard for so long, finally softened and adapted to his, Li Chai's, form? Inside Strange K, all was quiet. XIXI was blinking her big eyes, clutching the purple flame serpentine spear fire tip spear, extremely excited. Watching Li Chai grasp the prison lotus yin divine sword and directly perform the sword storing action, XIXI's eyes were shining brightly. Chapter 496. True to form as my father, truly domineering. This sword, to snatch it just like that. Even the enemy's divine weapon wasn't spared. And Molly's martial saint shadow, seemed to have fallen into silence. As the connection between the yin divine sword and the martial saint shadow severed, the oppressive force of the shadow formed by the martial saint's will began to plummet dramatically. Eventually, it fell to a certain level and did not decline any further. Li Chai sensed for a moment, his eyes twinkling, and he smiled. Now, we are at the same level. The authority of Molly's martial saint's will, having lost the reserve power of the yin divine sword, now, fell to about the realm of a half-step great grandmaster. And it was still slipping. The martial saint's will fluctuated slightly, casting a deep gaze at Li Chai, its expression extremely complex. Where's the sword? The martial saint's will spoke in a deep voice. The sound thundered, exploding within the Strange K. It belongs to the Li family now. Li Chai said. He dropped his arms, his hair flying, shielding XIXI behind him, facing alone, bearing the full brunt of the martial saint's imposing pressure. However, the current pressure from the martial saint, held no sense of oppression for Li Chai. It was just like that. Li Chai looked at the blurry martial saint shadow, knowing only that the figure was lofty and vigorous, but he couldn't make out any features. This was, the renowned powerhouse from Great Vista, the king of quelling chaos Molly. The martial saint of this age, the divine fetus great god. What was reflected before Li Chai, although just a wisp of martial saint's will, was also extremely exceptional. Li Chai was curious. Could the king of quelling chaos Molly, far away miles apart, perceive the current situation through this wisp of martial saint's will? If one were to completely erase this wisp of martial saint's will, would King Molly still be aware of the events that took place during the temple god resonance? Li Chai always acted with prudence. He could be the most solid shield for his daughter, but he would not foolishly rush in head first. A martial saint, and moreover a divine fetus great god, was not an existence Li Chai could currently provoke. But now, it was not the real form that had descended. It was just a wisp of martial saint's will. Molly, wanting to know what happened here, perhaps, could only do so by reclaiming this strand of martial saint's will. Li Chai's eyes flickered. Within the Strange K, the mysterious fog surged. XIXI did indeed kill Hui, but those who knew XIXI killed Hui were only him, Li Chai, the martial saint's will before him, that wisp of divine dragon shadow, and the spectating temple god third prince. Others might have sensed something, but they did not know what happened. The power of the mysterious fog to shield and probe senses was very strong, especially since it was the mysterious fog of the strange K of the four royal mysterious temples. Even the divine element true person's primordial spirit energy found it very difficult to extend its perception within it. Li Che was special because he possessed the Dao Fruit Chess Saint and had reached the level of LV4, enhancing his perceptive abilities. Therefore, the fact that XIXI killed Ji Haihui was not known by many. Li Che's eyes flickered, and he instantly made up his mind. Presumptuous. The blurry martial saint's will, as if sensing the wild will raging within Li Che's heart. In an instant, lips parted, and the tongue unleashed thunder. Rolling thunder, as if an angered dragon turned over, roaring explosively. Numerous mysterious fogs were immediately blasted into swirling black cyclones. Boom! Many wildly swirling currents, forming invisible oppression, fiercely pressed down on Li Che. The martial saint's will's eyes blazed brilliantly, although it was only a strand of wool, it was still incredibly domineering. You want to suppress this king? A country martial artist, how bold! The soft voice, with an unparalleled domineering spirit, he raised his hand, blurry fingers clenched, and immediately countless streaks of light converged, astonishingly transforming into a long-handled umbrella spear. The long-handled umbrella spear, very vague, but also incredibly terrifying. Upon its appearance, it seemed as if the mysterious fog could not withstand its weight and was about to be forcefully compressed. The mere form of the divine weapon already possesses such domineering presence. Li Che's gaze sharpened. The might of a martial saint, so fearsome. Even if it was just a strand of wool, not to be taken lightly even with the subjugating the divine. This long-handled umbrella spear divine weapon, I'm afraid, is definitely a top-notch divine weapon that Ji Moli has completely mastered. The martial saint's will was incredibly sharp, Li Che's martial intent leaked slightly, and it was sensed. Although the martial saint's will couldn't maintain itself due to the severed connection with the Yin God sword, it still retained an irascible pride. A mere country bumpkin also wants to suppress the martial saint's will. Gripping the long-handled umbrella spear, it suddenly twisted, tearing open the layers of currents. The martial saint's will gazed down indifferently, boldly taking a step. One step sounded, as though beating a drum. Bang! Waves scattered in all directions. As the umbrella spear spun, amidst the sound of ripping silk, the tip of the spear had already descended, causing the void to twist and burst. The howling tearing currents, astonishingly, turned into 10,000 dragon shadows. 10,000 dragons subduing gods. Martial Saint Ultimate Study, performed by a martial saint himself, was completely different from Ji Haihui's rendition. One was of the heavens, the other at the dust. Roar! Thousands of dragons' chant sounded dominantly, deafening, as if the ancient and sealed bell on the Buddhist Mount Meru was struck fiercely. The descending umbrella spear, utterly domineering. The speed at which it struck did not seem fast, but within the 500 jong range separating Li Che from the martial saint's will, currents were torn apart for it. This one spear thrust perfectly integrated the martial saint ultimate study, 10,000 dragons subduing gods, within. Li Che couldn't even begin to describe the implications of this strike. Chapter 497. It seemed to summon 10,000 dragons from heaven and earth, and even if gods stood before him, he dared to suppress and slay them with his domineering might. It was a command, a hold of power, majestic, and also, domineering. Boom! The blast of air swept the sky, and the currents stormed wildly. They transformed into the roar of 10,000 dragons, rampaging and dancing wildly. Li Che, his dark robe fluttering wildly, felt his muscles and bones resonating together, his spine trembling as if resounding with a deep dragon's chant. He was wrong. The martial saint, even though his aura had weakened to only that of a grandmaster level, was still far beyond any grandmaster. His eyes shone brightly like fire. Not because of the fierce martial saint's will did he lack even the courage to make a move. And XIXI, blocked by Li Che, also felt a slight leakage of power and couldn't help but tremble a little, her eyes widening. How terrifying! Just like the big bad wolf in the fairy tales. Worry inevitably showed in her eyes. Daddy! Can you win? Feeling the doubt of his little cotton coat, Li Che turned his head to glance back and smiled. Little stinky XI, don't underestimate your old dad. As soon as he had spoken, Li Che laughed loudly, and with a heavy step forward, the fervor in his eyes blazed as if it were truly burning. The will of the martial saint. Li Che felt inside his chest, the violently pounding dragon elephant Vajra Deo fruit, excited to the point of nearly bursting out. Anticipation, excitement. With a heavy stamp of his foot, it seemed as though he had flipped the entire strange K. On his back, each large tendon snapped, releasing terrifying power. Buzz bang. His body slightly enlarged, dragon elephant Vajra, unparalleled horizontal refinement. He didn't even use the power of the temple god chess pieces. Just solely relying on the Deo fruit, he incited all the horizontal refining powers within his body. Because XIXI was behind him, Li Che did not let his body completely twist and deform, only slightly enlarging and inflating his clothes moderately. Not enough to frighten his daughter. Muscles and bones resonating together, Grandmaster vitality roared like towering waves. Terrible true chi rampaged and roared. Dragon elephant true force. Myriad transformations dragon elephant. Li Che's eyes were bright, as if a face equaling heaven had covered his own, that moment of enlightenment suddenly arising naturally in his heart. With a thought, chi and blood rosy clouds twirled out. Tiger leopard thunder sound boomed and rolled. The tiger leopard thunder sound splitting golden spear landed in his hand, his fingers hooked tightly, tearing apart torrents of air currents and gripping it in his hand. Chi and blood rosy clouds swirled around the tiger leopard thunder sound spear, immediately transforming it into a red gold treasure stick. With a flick of the long stick, snapping in between, the multiple shadows interwove, as if giving birth to myriad embryonic changes. Tiger leopard thunder sound rolling and booming. He swept the stick out. As if thunder burst upon his shadow of the stick. Endless shadow of the stick. Myriad transformations dragon elephant, along with the primordial equal to heaven staff. Killing move. Mix you in one stick. Boom. The long-handled umbrella spear and the mix you in one stick collided fiercely. This seemed not merely a collision of two weapons, but more like a contest of their physical bodies, a strife of force, and a clash of blood and chi. The earth shook and the mountains trembled. The mysterious fog swiftly siphoned towards both of them and then was forcefully and domineeringly scattered in all directions. The entire strange case seemed to tremble slightly. Within several miles of their confrontation, the mysterious fog beneath their feet seemed to collapse, crashing into the storming surface of the Nine Dragons River. It caused the river water to explode thunderously, blasting up water columns several dozens of feet into the sky. In an instant, atop the listening fury cliff stone, the divine primordial powerhouses, about to engage, suddenly changed color in shock. They all turned their heads towards the quiet strange K, the sudden agitation, creating a sky-high column of water. The boiling blood and vigor surged fiercely. This is a great grandmaster. Inside the strange K, are great grandmasters clashing. The charioteer, standing firm on the edge of the cliff with his sword, suddenly had his eyes shine brilliantly, his divine gang rolling. Grandmaster vitality roared like a fierce tiger. Zhu Chaoyang also appeared, furrowing his brows tightly, clenching his fists, and staring intently. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The mysterious fog rolled and surged, as if hundreds of dragon shadows were chaotically coiling and dancing in the sky within it. Just one collision, and it was so astonishing. The fierce wind spread from the mysterious fog, howling and roaring, causing listening fury cliff stone to be caught in wild whirlwinds. Sand flew and rocks shot through the air, the roaring waves furiously slapped the shore. Such momentum caused the flood dragon horses and other horses to be terrified to desperation, neighing incessantly, and suddenly, the crowd became chaotic. The Golden Light Prefecture, and various martial brothers from different places, all changed color in alarm. Many cultivators who brought spirit-sending children to participate in the temple god resonance turned even paler. Temple god resonance, how could such a terrifying collision occur? What about those children? Even the confronting Shadow Guard true person was staring intently at the strange K. Its prince. The pervasive aura of collision enveloped the surroundings. Shadow Guard true person felt a familiar aura that struck deep into his soul. It was the prince's aura. Was it a thread of martial Deo will that the prince had left in the young prince's body? And it had awakened this thread of martial Deo will. The person who had tried to kill the young prince was undoubtedly doomed to die. Mysterious K surged, and the terrifying sound of the dragon's chant rolled in. Above the head, the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel was spinning furiously, scattering countless sparking embers. Jiao Shaokai sat cross-legged, his silvery white hair fluttering, and an expression of shock couldn't help but emerge on his withered face. This is 10,000 dragons subduing God. At least a master level 10,000 dragons subduing God's true intent. Jimoli's martial saint's will. Jiao Shaokai's face, like the bark of 1,000-year-old dried tree, involuntarily trembled. His parched lips sealed, a bitter taste spreading. Ji Haihui had really been killed. Even King Pingluan's martial saint's will was forced out, and the murderer was even able to clash with the martial saint's will without being overshadowed. That was Jimoli's martial saint's will. Looking across Golden Light Prefecture, who could withstand it? Who could? Those children participating in the temple god resonance? Certainly not those kids. So, who really killed Ji Haihui? Could it really be the temple guardian cursed corpses? At that moment, Jiao Shaokaihu felt a strong urge to disperse the mysterious fog and take a good look at the situation of this confrontation. Wanting to glimpse the truth. However, he couldn't. Ji Haihui was dead. And so were the other children participating in the temple god resonance. Bang 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 bang. Exploding violent air currents, forming cyclones in mid-air. The collision was but a momentary clash. Two figures were flung out in opposite directions. Li Che took several steps back consecutively, each step landing shattering the mysterious fog. He stood before XIXI, his stature still towering and robust. But his surrounding air churned with heat, the air itself twisting and misting that was the unmatched horizontal refinement physique activated by the mixing of Furnace Grandmaster power and Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit. The sound of blood coursing like tidal waves in his veins burst forth. XIXI's face, heated and puffy, suddenly turned red like a monkey's butt. She took several small steps back, tiny as one, appearing drunk and muddled. Dad. Dad is so strong. In that case, for XIXI to grow strong and spank Daddy's butt, she'd need to practice till the cows come home. Li Che wiped away a drop of blood that had seeped from the corner of his mouth. His eyes sparkled. His Grandmaster strength, it seems, was even more formidable than he had imagined. In the distance, the blurry figure of the martial saint's will also staggered and fell back 2 steps within the mysterious fog. And above it, the aura that had accompanied that earth-shattering strike of 10,000 dragons subduing gods has plummeted to the depths. The blurred face, seemingly with a pair of bright eyes, shone. The martial saint's will, capable of wielding only master-level power, represents the invincibility of the master realm. His 10,000 dragons subduing gods, yet, was blocked by a country bumpkin. What an unparalleled physique! Which wild god have you reincarnated from? This king will find you. As the words fell, only to hear a muffled sound. In an instant, the body of Jimoli's martial saint's will, with a boom, exploded thunderously. It was as if real flesh had splattered, falling like rain, the exploding air current absorbed by the maelstrom in the mysterious fog, leaving only the lingering heat of determination. Li Che didn't even look at the exploded martial saint's will. His 5 fingers clenched. Tiger leopard thunder sound resounded in unison. Countless air currents intertwined, dragon elephants cried long and loud. In a flash, the spear vibrated and shot out, like a blood-red meteor piercing the void. It struck the still writhing shadow of the dragon god in the distance. With unstoppable momentum, it nailed it into the mysterious fog like pinning a mudfish. Chapter 498. The spear vibrated sharply, and the tiger leopard thunder sound swept through with a shuddering blast. In an instant, it transformed into a streak of reddish golden light, like a meteor tearing through the black night. It hammered the distant divine dragon phantom deep into the mysterious fog. Painful roars thundered from the divine dragon phantom, a dragon born of bloodline within Ji Haihui's body, somewhat similar to the martial saint's will. However, since Ji Haihui's own strength wasn't formidable, the wills born from the 2 bloodlines were not strong either. Even the martial saint's will left by Jimoli intended to harness more willpower through the prison Lotus Yin divine sword. Unfortunately, the prison Lotus Yin divine sword was suppressed in advance due to Li Che's relentless pursuit. Therefore, Jimoli's arrangement collapsed in an instant. It was like 2 chess players sitting across from each other, watching a strategic dragon formation they painstakingly laid out being cut down by an unexpected move from the opponent. The divine dragon phantom was even weaker as a result. Since most of the power had been drawn away by the martial saint's will, this divine dragon phantom was nothing more than a shell of a dragon. Moreover, each time Ji Haihui invoked the dragon god power, it consumed a portion of the divine dragon wool. Therefore, it was penetrated by Li Chei's spear in a single blow. Stuck in the mysterious fog, it could only struggle and writhe incessantly. The winds died down, and the fog ceased its swirling. Li Chei slowly exhaled a breath of stale air, his dao fruit within his chest calmed, and the boiling blood in his body gradually settled. Martial Saint, truly powerful. King Pingluan, a single move of the myriad transformations subduing gods is indeed extraordinary. Even when executed at the Grand Master realm, it possesses an earth-shattering might, capable of standing firm against a great Grand Master. Li Chei marveled inwardly, his eyes flickering open and closed, savoring the aftermath of the battle. A slight surge welled up within his heart once more. It was merely a sliver of willpower hidden within the lineage's blood, yet it managed to unleash such formidable power from thousands of miles away. How terrifying would the King Pingluan be at his peak? As for the martial saint ultimate study known as Myriad Transformations Subduing Dragon, Li Chei's ultimate move, Primordial Chaos One Stick, relied on the Myriad Transformations Dragon Elephant and his Dao Fruit to elevate his unmatched horizontal refinement, forcefully overwhelming the opponent. In terms of technique, he was still somewhat inferior. Martial Saint. Li Chei closed his eyes, feeling a slight tremor in his heart. An inexplicable pressure, like that of a mountain, weighed down upon him with a roar. Against absolute power, all schemes and machinations become futile. Even if he used the thunder chess piece to shift and escape, he feared it would be hard to shake off the danger. Pressure indeed. Li Chei opened his eyes, now fully aware that his current strength was still too weak. Complacency would not do, he had to strive and continue getting stronger. Martial saints must have varying degrees of strength, I just don't know in which domain King Pingluan resides among the martial saints. Li Chei shook his head, having no concept of such a godlike realm. In fact, he only had a superficial understanding of the division within the Great Master realm. Xixi blinked her big eyes, filled with little stars. Daddy is so powerful. Xixi felt extremely joyful and utterly at ease. She grinned foolishly and upon seeing Li Chei finish the battle, scampered over and hugged his thigh. Li Chei picked up Xixi and looked her over, relieved to see that she wasn't hurt. After rubbing the little girl's head, Li Chei's gaze then turned to the distant body of Ji Haihui, his eyes fluctuating slightly. Xixi seemed to think of something too, and began to struggle in Li Chei's arms. She slid to the ground and with a burst of speed, ran out. She reached the nearly dragon-shaped body of Ji Haihui and, after fumbling around somewhat awkwardly, found Ji Haihui's Qunkan jade. Then, with utmost joy, she hopped and skipped back to Li Chei. Daddy! Look! Xixi presented it to Li Chei as if offering a treasure. This is your trophy, keep it safe. Li Chei, however, was rare in his refusal. Ji Haihui was ultimately killed by Xixi in self-defense, hence the trophy should stay with Xixi. It was a good habit to start collecting trophies from a young age. But Xixi shook her head, for Daddy, Xixi has no use for this now. When Xixi grows up, she will have lots and lots of trophies. Xixi held her head up high, her chubby cheeks flushed with excitement. Hearing this, Li Chei smiled and did not refuse any longer, accepting the Qunkan jade. Indeed, Ji Haihui's Qunkan jade was more trouble than it was worth for Xixi. This was the Qunkan jade of young Prince Ji Haihui, too recognizable. In Xixi's hands, it would be like an open declaration that she had killed Ji Haihui. But now, with the martial saints will dispersed by Li Chei, those who knew the truth about Xixi killing Ji Haihui were only the struggling divine dragon will and the onlooking temple god third prince. With the divine dragon will nailed into the void, it was essentially unable to escape. So, dealing with the temple god third prince was truly problematic. Li Chei naturally preferred to keep the news of Ji Haihui's demise at Xixi's hands a secret. After all, with the vast power of King Pingluan, let's not even mention his powerful martial saint cultivation. Just the great Grand Masters and divine primordial true persons under his command alone could pose a grave threat to Li Chei's family. Li Chei always acted cautiously, never recklessly charging ahead. Still green, I must bide my time. So, if the news can be suppressed, it should be suppressed. And even stir up some confusion about it. With my dispersal of King Pingluan's martial saint's will, it cannot return to its source, hence it would be impossible to discern from afar the truth about Ji Haihui's death. Chapter 499. Li Chei nodded slightly. He put away the Qunkan jade from Ji Haihui, rubbed Xixi's head, and with a single step, countless mysterious creatures burst forth. Waves of force swept through the air and spread out, and in an instant, he appeared in front of the spectral image of the divine dragon that was nailed within the mysterious fog. Fiend! You killed my son! You are doomed! All of you are doomed! The spectral image of the divine dragon roared furiously, extremely angry, even though it was nailed in the void and struggling continuously, it was still furiously cursing. It was like a woman who had lost her offspring. Li Che watched indifferently, indeed. Such a venomous intent to kill. It was certain that these wills could not be allowed to return to the main body, knowing the true cause of Ji Haihui's death. His fingers clenched around the tiger leopard thunder sound splintering golden spear, and in a flash, the spear vibrated. It suddenly became swollen, with chi and blood rosy clouds on it, swelling up like fierce, blood-red veins. Suddenly, he turned it. A terrifying tearing force erupted from the tiger leopard thunder sound spear. Whom? The terrifying true chi burst forth, transforming into countless blades, pouring into the spectral image of the divine dragon. With an explosive sound, the spectral image of the divine dragon directly exploded. It exploded into pieces, turning into an extremely dense fog. Only the extremely angry will of resentment was still roiling within the mysterious fog. Li Che, holding the tiger leopard thunder sound staff in one hand, raised his hand to his forehead. The flesh burst open, and a brilliant eyeball rotated vividly. Star-plucking pupil. A gaze, seemingly substantial, swept across, cleansing through the mysterious fog. It swept over the crushed spectral image of the divine dragon. Slowly, he indeed captured some lingering willed intentions, and Li Che flicked his finger. A powerful force of the primordial spirit swept out. In an instant, erasing all these lingering dragon wills. Accompanied by a few roars of dragon's chant, the entire mysterious fog became quiet. He did not withdraw his star-plucking pupil. The star-plucking pupil, capable of returning to truth, emitted a bright radiance, and Li Che slightly furrowed his brows, sweeping through the mysterious fog, seemingly seeing the surging strange K. Behind that strange K, there seemed to be densely packed shadows, sticking right at the edge of the mysterious fog. Staring dead at Li Che and XIXI through the mysterious fog. Hairs on end instantly. It felt as if every inch of flesh throughout his body was frozen at that moment, and even the circulation of blood seemed to have stopped. Were these monsters from within the strange K? Li Che's eyes narrowed, his heart pounding suddenly. Roar! The monsters within the strange K, as if realizing that Li Che could see them, began to furiously smash against the mysterious fog. As if to tear through the mysterious fog and kill their way through. Rumbling! Like thunderous sounds, the entire mysterious fog stirred up, as if hot and intense gas rose from the depths of the mysterious fog. Even separated by the dense fog, it was impossible to block out those scorching, boiling intentions. Li Che's brows furrowed. Is this the strange K of the four royal mysterious temples? Each strange K, emerging alongside the mysterious temples, possesses exceedingly terrible dangers. Had Elder Jiao not activated the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel this time, stepping inside the strange K would have faced the rampage and assaults of the monsters dwelling within. To raid the mysterious temples, one actually needs to conquer and suppress these monsters inside the strange K. The strange K of the four royal mysterious temples. The monsters inside it must be extremely powerful. Perhaps not a few of them are at the level of a martial saint? Li Che's hair stood on end as he felt an immense terror drawing closer and closer, almost tearing through the mist to reach him. He chose to close his star-plucking pupil and ultimately shifted his gaze away. As he shifted his gaze, the agitation and the roaring suddenly disappeared. Beads of sweat formed on Li Che's forehead as he let out a breath of turbid air. The unknown, that was the great terror. But he actually had significant doubts in his heart. Four royal mysterious temples. According to the records from the Golden Light sub-sect, the monsters within the strange K, tainted by the temple god divinity, the temple guardian cursed corpses, shouldn't be this numerous. Never have I seen such a number of monsters. They don't seem like they've been corrupted by the temple god divinity, more like they were gathered from deep within the strange K. Li Che's hair stood on end again. It wasn't his first time visiting a mysterious temple. For instance, he had once set foot in the Fire Eye mystical awestruck spirit ape strange temple. And had also tried to observe the strange K of mysterious temples using his star-plucking pupil. Seeing the temple guardian cursed corpses and the creatures tainted by divinity within, their numbers were not many. Could it be because a powerful being had cleared them out? Li Che stowed away his star-plucking pupil. Yet his heart couldn't stop trembling. But the difference was too great. That strange Quebec was almost filled with monsters, enough to trigger claustrophobia. The temple god divinity couldn't possibly have tainted so many monsters of the strange Quebec. So, where did these monsters come from? Giggle, giggle, giggle. Suddenly, the sound echoed beside Li Che's ears. His eyes narrowed involuntarily. With a flash, Li Che appeared next to XIXI. After stowing away the tiger leopard thunder sound-splitting golden spear, his gaze fell upon the black lotus platform emerging from the mysterious fog. On the lotus platform sat a child dressed in a black belly band. An oppressive and suffocating force burst forth instantly like a mythical mountain collapse, explosively blasting, covering the sky and bearing down on Li Che. Oppressive, suffocating. It was an immensely terrifying rank pressure. Even though Li Che now, with 8 divine foundations within his inner scene of the energy center, could ignore the pressure of a Yuan phase cultivator and resist the rank oppression of a divine primordial true person. He felt as though he were entirely smothered in suffocation at that moment. Chapter 500. XIXI seemed frozen like a sculpture. Only her curious eyes could blink. The father and daughter, under the rank's pressure, had turned into wood carvings, unable to move, having lost control over their bodies. However, inside Li Che's chest, a violent throbbing sound exploded. It was like evening drums and morning bells, resembling the ringing of a great bell. Dao fruits shimmered with flowing light, bouncing as if the heart was supplying blood, instantly flowing through the body, breaking through the oppression. Immortal artisan, dragon elephant Vajra, pure heart, chess saint, fairy in the painting. 5 Dao fruits lit up 5 glows on Li Che's body. Lying on the lotus platform and giggling, the third crown prince suddenly stopped smiling. Sitting up seriously, he stared intently at Li Che, squinting his eyes. After a long while, the third crown prince appeared melancholic. I didn't expect you to break the game in such a way. It's different, completely different. Have you never thought about what you would do if you couldn't beat that dragon and that man? The third crown prince asked Li Che. Li Che smiled warmly, take my daughter and flee. When the strength is sufficient, come back to kill. The corner of the third crown prince's mouth twitched, truly a wily old dog. The moment he took that yin divine sword, he had shown an unmatched scoundrel's posture. The third crown prince jumped up from the black lotus platform, hands behind his back. All right. Anyway, you won't give up on your daughter, right? Li Che nodded lightly. As a father, I naturally won't give up my own daughter. Envious. The third crown prince's mood seemed to sink for a moment. He looked down at his own feet, then turned to look at XIXI. I really envy you for having such a father. XIXI, held in Li Che's arms, seemed able to move again under the protection of the Dao fruit's aura, shielded from the third crown prince's rank pressure. Hearing the third crown prince's envy, she immediately lifted her chin proudly. XIXI's daddy is the best. This is XIXI's daddy. The third crown prince's words concluded. Black lotus petals on the black lotus platform suddenly wrapped around the third crown prince. In an instant, they broke through the mysterious fog and disappeared. Li Che held XIXI, watching the disappearing third prince temple god, his eyes still flashing with a hint of doubt. His perception spread out but was completely unable to detect the will of the temple god. His gaze lifted, looking towards the distant mysterious fog. Gradually, the mysterious fog started to clear. He saw an ancient and dilapidated mysterious temple. This was the true mysterious temple. This time, on the steps in front of the mysterious temple, there was no other XIXI sitting. Li Che put down XIXI. Go on. Li Che rubbed XIXI's head. His eyes held a bit of regret, for he could not enter this mysterious temple. Or rather, all divine children and spirit children who came to resonate with the temple god could not step inside the mysterious temple, they could only get close. The closer they got, the more they could receive the temple god's gifts. How can one enter the 4 royal mysterious temple? Li Che couldn't help but feel a hint of regret. He had planned to enter the mysterious temple to observe the statues of the temple gods. And to leave behind a chess saint chess piece. To create an entrance for himself, so he could return frequently. But now, that thought had to be dismissed. Shaking his head, he watched XIXI walk towards the stairs of the mysterious temple. Li Che's toes tapped lightly, and his figure shot backwards rapidly. He appeared next to the half-human, half-dragon corpse of Ji Haihui. Indifferently looking at Ji Haihui's corpse, he suppressed the impulse to destroy the body and remove the traces. He thought of Qin Fenghuo and then of the terrifying death Qi and corpse Qi inside the Qin family's carriage. Yuan Jinggong. Li Che murmured. The mysterious, 7 Yuan upper-tier corpse god envoy of the corpse god cult, Yuan Jinggong. He had been hiding within the Qin family all along. Li Che had never noticed him, despite having scanned the Qin family numerous times, but he had never detected him. It can only be said that the corpse curse mark mastered by Yuan Jinggong must exceed the 7 elements, reaching the level of the 6 bureaus. And this time, the corpse god cult must have also planned something for this temple god resonance. So, isn't this the perfect opportunity to frame someone? Li Che started to laugh. His fingers clenched. From the 7 elemental corpse curse mother and child seal, he drew out death Qi and corpse Qi, and then from his fingers, the dragon elephant silver gang sprang to life. Mixing together, he injected it into the wounds of Ji Haihui's corpse, creating the false appearance that he had been killed by a powerful cursed silver corpse of the corpse god cult. Of course, this was just an impromptu arrangement by Li Che, intended to confuse and mislead. Apart from the temple god and himself, Li Che, no one knew that Xixi had killed Ji Haihui, but just to be safe, he flung some more mud at the corpse god cult. This made it even more difficult to guess that it was done by Xixi. As for the conflict between Ji Haihui and Xixi, are the squabbles between children considered conflicts? After doing all this, Li Che smiled, his toes tapped, and like ripples in mysterious fog, his whole figure disappeared from sight. Xixi didn't look back, she knew her father would always be there. She walked boldly and relaxedly. Although she had just acquired 2 divine weapons, a gold brick, and another golden light wheel, there was still a true gift from the temple god to be received. When Xixi reached the stairs, suddenly, her mind buzzed, and a resonating sound followed. Her tiny figure sat down directly on the stairs. She began to receive the inheritance of the temple god. Is it over? A strange shade began to slowly flow over the dried bark-like face of Jiao Shaokaiu. Chapter 501. The recent clash was terrifying. It almost reached the level of a great grandmaster. Jiao Shaokaiu's first thought was that some monster had torn through the mysterious fog barrier within the strange K, and that strange K was out of control now. If that were the case, then everyone participating in the temple god resonance would have to die, including him. Even if he was controlling the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel right in front of him, the outcome would be the same. Jiao Shaokaiu exhaled a breath. With both hands continuing the sealing technique, he no longer paid attention to those issues. He would first see through the conclusion of this temple god resonance convention. If it was indeed a strange K revolt, it was not something he could mitigate or counter. If a revolt truly occurred in one of the 4 royal mysterious temples, it would be enough to shake the entire Lingnan circuit, necessitating the presence of a martial saint and a divine fetus great god. Simply put, it was not something he, fallen from the golden body transformation to the primordial spirit metamorphosis of divine primordial, could resolve. The great supervising minister once said, "The 4 royal mysterious temple in Golden Light Prefecture is very special," but he did not explain specifically what was special, leaving it a riddle, which is most annoying. However, the great supervising minister also said that, at least for the next 10 years, this 8-armed prison lotus wrathful third prince's sinister temple wouldn't erupt in a major strange K revolt. Jiao Shaokaiu's eyes opened and closed as he lifted his head, looking at the intensely glowing golden light wheel. He still trusted that great supervising minister from divine capital. Therefore, he had not given up. He continued to preside over this temple god resonance. For the children, this temple god resonance could be a chance to change their destinies. The opportunity of the 4 royal mysterious temples. Enough to affect the children's entire lives. Li Che returned to the carriage, dispelled the fairy in the painting clone that stayed on the shaft of the carriage, as if the two overlapped, and the clone exploded into a thin ink mist. Hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. The fierce wind moaned and howled. Pitter-patter, large raindrops still fell from the sky, hitting the top of the heaven's fury cliff stone. The tense atmosphere gradually came to a rest. Li Che exhaled a breath. His departure and return did not attract anyone's attention. Even Shang Guanqinghong and Zhang Ye inside the carriage had no idea. Li Che leaned on the shaft of the carriage, with all his muscles and bones cracking, his body as relaxed as never before. His gaze lifted, sweeping toward the center of the listening fury cliff stone. The tense atmosphere began to dissipate. Because of the sudden burst of power from the mysterious fog, equivalent to the master level, the Shadow Guard true person understood that the prince had made his move. It must have been the martial saint's will of the prince embedded within the young prince. That assassin must be finished now. The Shadow Guard true person was already anticipating. Looking forward to the scene where the insurmountable martial saint's will of the prince is revealed to everyone once the mysterious fog is torn open again. It was King Pingluan, after all. Not just a supreme martial saint but also a divine fetus great god. Such a strong presence, even a mere manifestation of martial saint's will, is enough to command respect from all the powerful attendees. Suhueli's eyes flickered, and he exhaled a breath. He brushed his clothes, his face showing a mix of frenzy and excitement. It had been quite a while since he had last seen his teacher. Now that he could see him again, even if it was just a manifestation of martial saint's will, it left him completely contented. He was even ready to bow in respect while awaiting to pay his great homage. The Shadow Guard true person did not linger any further. The Shen Yuan golden elixir returned to the inner scene of the energy center. Meanwhile, the 6 black-armored blood guards also sheathed their horse-slaying sabers, beneath their black helmets, faces of stern coldness, yet unable to hide their fervor. Liu Yao and King Taoist both sighed in relief. If a real fight had broken out, that would have been troublesome. They too were shaken internally, having sensed the aftermath of the master-level power that had burst from the 9 Dragons River. King Pingluan, Ji Moli, Liu Yao and Wang Kuyu both had solemn expressions. Wang Kuyu even swished his dust whisk, his face entirely bitter. As expected, Ji Moli sending Ji Haihui to this 4 royal mysterious temple was indeed a major scheme. Let's hope it doesn't anger the temple god, let's not trigger a revolt in the mysterious temple. Currently, Golden Light Prefecture lacks the power to quell the wrath of the temple gods of the 4 royal mysterious temples, the revolt of strange Quebec. Wang Kuyu sighed deeply. At the cliffside of Listening Fury Cliff Stone, Jiao Shaokai's charioteer and Zhu Chaoyang from the Temple Control Bureau, both masters, were tense, their muscles tight and their blood boiling under the skin, suppressing their master-level martial Dao will. Martial Saint! Martial Saint! Zhu Chaoyang took a deep breath as if thunder roared. It definitely wasn't the martial saint himself, but merely a whiff of the martial saint's will, yet it could unleash a power at the level of a master of divine gang. It was terrifying indeed. Unimaginably terrifying. However, Zhu Chaoyang was even more curious about who was contending with Ji Moli's martial saint's will. The martial saint's will, even just a whiff of it. It also had that distinct terrifying oppression exclusive to the martial saint. Who could possibly battle with the martial saint's will? The Qin family carriage. A breeze stirred, continuously fluttering the curtain. The figure inside the carriage had never shown itself. However, as the martial saint's will erupted with a battle remnant of Grandmaster level, the figure inside the carriage still quivered slightly. For a moment. Above the listening fury cliff stone, it became quiet. Everyone was waiting. Anxious, curious, and expectant. When the mysterious fog tore apart. That hint of the martial saint's grace. Everyone was waiting. But Li Che relaxed his mind. Waiting for the grace of the martial saint? These people were likely to be disappointed. He had burst Ji Moli's martial saint's will, of course. It was mainly because Li Che was clever enough to detect that the prison Lotus Yin God Sword was enhancing the qi of the martial saint's will at the time. Immediately, he took the initiative to strike and first captured the sword into the heaven and earth chessboard. This caused the martial saint's will to lose its continuous source of power. Unable to sustain itself, it burst apart after a liberating and thorough battle. Li Che's lips slightly curled into a hint of a smile. The breeze stirred, accompanied by the sound of falling rain. In front of him, radiant light slowly emerged. Dao Fruit, Dragon Elephant Vajra, LV 4,40%. In a battle with the martial saint's will, the maturity of Dragon Elephant Vajra had actually jumped directly to 40%. Even though it was only a brief battle, the gains for Li Che were massive. Battling with a stronger opponent had heightened his perception of martial arts, even his combat experience had significantly enhanced. This is the subtle benefit of engaging with a stronger adversary. Engaging in combat with a weaker opponent might cause one to be influenced and become weaker. Battling with a stronger opponent naturally made him stronger. This was only a wisp of martial saint's will. If I were to kill the actual martial saint, the maturity of the Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit would probably skyrocket. Li Che laughed. Of course, to kill a martial saint was nothing more than a fanciful dream for Li Che. Unfortunately, that was just a wisp of the martial saint's will, unable to capture souls. The improvement in a Deo fruit's maturity wasn't as easy as one might imagine. This time, the significant increase was probably due to leveraging the prestige associated with the martial saint. As the maturity of the Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit increased, it would, in turn, nourish Li Che. Thus, at this moment, Li Che again had the opportunity to enter a state of martial enlightenment. But Li Che did not immediately enter that state of enlightenment. Instead, with the thought, he closed the heaven and earth chessboard around the carriage, shielding both perception and aura, then grabbed Ji Haihui's Kyunkan jade in his hand. Inside the Niwen Palace, the primordial spirit, sitting in suppression above the prison lotus Yin God's sword, suddenly opened its eyes. Divine sense power swept down. It tore through the defenses of the Kyunkan jade. Then, the divine sense plunged into it, sweeping through. Li Che's eyes flickered slightly. For a moment, his index and middle fingers came together. From the Kyunkan jade, he let out a piece of gold foil paper filled with dense text. His gaze fell upon the gold foil paper, on which 4 large characters shone back at him. They were the words, Martial Saint Ultimate Study. 10,000 Dragons Subduing Gods. Chapter 502. 10,000 Dragons Subduing Gods. Martial Saint's Ultimate Study. Li Che's eyes sparkled. Holding this piece of gold foil paper, he could feel an imperishable will it contained. It was also a kind of martial saint's will, however, it was different from Ji Moli's martial saint's will that he had just confronted in the mysterious fog. The former was hidden within the bloodline of Ji Haihui, while the latter belonged to a legacy, a martial Deo tradition left within the gold foil. Li Che squinted slightly, feeling the vigorous and powerful will arising. Li Che did not attempt to stimulate it, because he knew that stimulating this martial saint's will was not easy. One would need to cultivate the martial saint ultimate study of 10,000 dragons subduing gods to a major accomplishment level. And after reaching major accomplishment, this martial saint's will hidden in the gold foil would assist Ji Haihui, guiding and deducing the martial saint ultimate study to a master's level. This was clearly a challenge left by Ji Moli for Ji Haihui. However, this challenge now belonged to him, Li Che. This martial saint is truly generous. Li Che chuckled. His eyes twinkled, because he mastered not just one martial saint ultimate study. Whether it was his own creation of myriad transformations dragon elephant or the primordial equal to heaven staff he obtained by chance at the Fire Eye mystical awestruck spirit ape strange temple, both were matured and both had reached the great achievement level. Among them, the primordial equal to heaven staff even deduced the killer move primordial chaos. Thus, if Li Che wished, he could even directly use the great achievement mood of the primordial equal to heaven staff to stimulate the martial saint's will left by Ji Moli. But, it was meaningless. Forcing activation would only waste this opportunity without any significance. Martial Saint Ultimate Studies, 5, all gathered. Primordial equal to heaven staff, myriad transformations dragon elephant, lone mountain walk blade, Link's Yubeki step and, now this 10,000 dragons subduing gods. Li Che held the gold foil paper, his eyes sparkled, and the corners of his lips lifted up. With the martial saint's true intent, volleying and tempering 5 viscera, then cultivating divine gang, Li Che would be able to complete the cultivation of the Grand Master realm, starting to condense the martial Deo will, stepping into the realm of the Master of Divine Gang. His mind agitated, Li Che breathed in and out, calming himself down. Then, he began to quietly read the cultivation method of 10,000 dragons subduing gods recorded on the gold foil paper. This was a technique, mainly for fist techniques, but it could also be integrated into spear techniques, sword techniques, blade techniques, staff techniques. All laws could be integrated. Li Che's breathing fluctuated, his pores dilated and spewed, his heart thumped. His whole being became spirited. The more he read, the more immersed he became, as if the blood in his body was rolling and burning. His mind was inexplicably stirred. Because from this martial saint ultimate study, Li Che had a vague familiar feeling and saw the shadow of myriad transformations dragon elephant. But this was not a mere martial Deo ultimate study, integrating divinity. It seemed 6 desires divinity were involved in it. It was based on 7 emotions divinity and 6 desires divinity, followed by different combinations and arrangements to form various martial art techniques. It could be a fist technique, a blade technique, a sword technique. And the source, 7 emotions divinity and 6 desires divinity. Yes, this 10,000 dragons subduing gods not only contained 7 emotions divinity but also 6 desires divinity. It was about integrating 7 emotions 6 desires divinity into this martial art. It could be said to be a martial art product that perfectly merges divinity methods with martial deo. Like the primordial equal to heaven staff, which belongs to the most pure martial saint ultimate study, not involving any divinity. It is a martial deo technique, concerning the circulation of qi and blood, the use of true qi, and a deeper level involves the subtle control of skin membranes, tendons, bones, muscles, and more. Under the feedback of Dragon Elephant Vajra Deo fruit, Li Che's martial Deo perception greatly enhanced him, although he had not yet opened the gate to enter the state of sudden enlightenment. But still, just based on the description of martial arts on the gold foil paper, Li Che had already gained insights. Myriad transformations Dragon Elephant merged many martial arts without the idea of integrating 7 emotions 6 desires divinity. Yet, actually, Li Che was better suited to take this path than anyone else. Because Li Che had built the 7 wheels divine base. Did Ji Moli create the 7 wheels divine base? Li Che's eyes shone brilliantly, inversely deducing that Ji Moli's creation of the 10,000 dragons subduing gods martial saint ultimate study absolutely could not have built the 7 wheels divine base, even as per the assumption, it still needed the integration of the 6 desires divine foundation. What a tremendous project! Probably, just by the powerful divinity cultivation experience and perception of the divine fetus great god, majoring in one divinity, and the rest of divinity methods, cultivating to nurturing nature, being able to portray such divinity's meaning is enough. Li Che leaned on the shaft, pondering in his mind. But I can be different. Because I have immaculate heart divinity, which can smooth out the repulsive forces between divine foundations, thereby building the 7 wheels divine base, accomplishing what others cannot. Qing Shan Elder once told me, the 7 treasures divine sect of the Dragon Abyss path could achieve the cultivation of multiple divine foundations, but it also cannot reach the extent of creating the 7 wheels divine base. Thus, people like me should be very rare, if not non-existent. Clearly, this 10,000 dragons subduing gods, I am more suitable than Ji Moli. Li Che's lips slightly curved upwards, simply by looking at it, he understood that he might be more suitable for this martial saint ultimate study than Ji Moli. Because he could achieve what Ji Moli couldn't. 6 desires divine foundation. 6 desires divinity cultivation method is not non-existent, just that fewer people cultivate it. Compared to 7 emotions divine foundation, the effects of the 6 desires divinity are more severe. A slight carelessness can lead to becoming a slave to the divinity of desires. Chapter 503. Those corpse gods from the corpse god cult actually cultivate the 6 desires divinity. Li Che's thoughts were proliferating, and having killed so many experts from the corpse god cult, he had actually collected quite a few 6 desires divinity methods. His gaze fell on the gold foil paper, within the heaven and earth chessboard. The primordial spirit of Li Che suddenly took a step forward, and in a flash, he began. Although his true body couldn't deduce. He could, however, manipulate his primordial spirit to cultivate this 10,000 dragons subduing God's ultimate study. The entry into any Grandmaster's ultimate study was far from easy, not to mention the martial saint ultimate study, which was 10 times more difficult than the Grandmaster's. Many martial artists of noble birth might spend their entire lives cultivating just one martial art, starting from childhood and taking years to even begin. But Li Che was different, possessing the Dragon Elephant Vajra Taoist fruit. As the maturity of the Taoist fruit increased, it continually transformed. Li Che's cross-training talent received a tremendous boost, and his martial path insight far exceeded that of ordinary people. The more a martial art conformed to cross-training, the faster he would cultivate it, even managing to grasp the basics in 1 day and reach minor accomplishment in 3. This was the transformation of the martial path talent brought about by the Taoist fruit. In fact, Li Che's divine talent wasn't bad either. Although the Immaculate Heart Taoist fruit was not specifically for enhancing divine talent, it also provided a subtle and profound improvement. Li Che often complained that his divine talent was average, but that was in comparison to what, next to his martial path talent, it was indeed quite average. However, compared to others, Li Che's talent on the divine level was already enough to earn him the label of a genius. A 23-year-old divine child was not a subject for jest. Being able to complete the construction of the 7 wheels 7 emotions divine base in a short period, although there was the hard work of the fairy in the painting incarnation. But Li Che's own divine talent was also a factor. However, being in this world, danger was a constant companion, so naturally, Li Che couldn't get complacent. He had to keep a low profile, be modest, underrate his own strength, and see his opponents as more formidable. Only by doing so, could he treat his opponents with due seriousness. Only by doing so, could he fully commit to protecting the security of his own small household. Boom! It was as if billowing smoke was swirling around. The primordial spirit simulated and traced within the heaven and earth chessboard, starting with the 10,000 dragons subduing gods style of boxing. Thud thud thud! One by one, the white pure heart divine chess pieces exploded, turning into rolling clouds of dust. 10,000 dragons subduing gods, with 10,000 dragons for form, the 7 emotions and 6 desires divinity as the essence of the dragon, vitality as flesh, strength as bones, the roar of 10,000 dragons shaking the soul, grand and boundless. While boxing, Li Che's primordial spirit was feeling out the core essence and basic theories about the 10,000 dragons subduing God's ultimate study. With every punch, within the heaven and earth chessboard, countless streams of pure heart divinity cloud flowed and flipped. Roar! Li Che's primordial spirit stepped sideways, his fingers curling, airflow blasting out, and as his fist plummeted sideways, it fell in an orderly fashion. His fists were like divine brushes, painting pictures on the clouds. Behind the clouds, the sound of the dragon's chant thundered, a dragon emerged from the clouds, flinging its dragon might amidst the mist, like a clap of thunder. However, because it was the primordial spirit that was practicing and deducing, there was no integration of vitality and strength. But strands of divinity were being mobilized, the 7 emotions divinity intertwining and merging into the dragon form, making the dragons behind the clouds come to life with vigorous vitality. Boom! With a punch, the dragon's chant exploded with sound, dragon shadows snaking and covering, pressing down on the chessboard in front until it nearly twisted. Divinity merged into the dragon form. One type of divinity can turn into many dragon forms: happy insanity, happiness, crazy joy, sorrowful tunes. One emotion can vary greatly. Li Che suddenly had a realization. He had the 7 wheels divine base, and merging it with the dragon form, he could directly make this 10,000 dragons subduing God's ultimate study enter the novice stage and then proceed to minor accomplishment. As for major accomplishment, that would still require some time to cultivate. His spirit withdrew from the heaven and earth chessboard. Above the chariot, the wind and rain were turbulent, fluttering the ink like garments. Li Che opened his eyes, and his pupils seemed to shine brightly, dazzling. In them, dragon form seemed to churn. This 10,000 dragons subduing gods is very suitable for me. Jimoli may be a martial saint and the creator of this martial art, but he doesn't understand a damn thing about 10,000 dragons subduing gods. Li Che laughed. Moreover, this martial saint ultimate study, when combined with the myriad transformations dragon elephant, was just too perfect. Now that the myriad transformations dragon elephant has already reached major accomplishment, if it's merged with this 10,000 dragons subduing gods, perhaps it could step into the master level. To help me give birth to the true intent of myriad transforming dragon elephant. Li Che's eyes sparkled brilliantly. 5 martial saint ultimate studies temper the 5 viscera, but they also need to be allocated. That does require careful study, no need to rush for now. Li Che exhaled a breath. He was in high spirits. This martial saint ultimate study had given him great inspiration. And it also made him use the advantages of his 7 wheels divine base for the first time. Moreover, as Li Che's divine cultivation progressed, the strength displayed by this martial saint ultimate study would become increasingly terrifying. 6 desires divine base, maybe I can try to construct that too. I have the fairy in the painting incarnation, let the incarnation slowly work on it. Time trickled by. The rain in the sky grew more tumultuous, as if the scalding waves rising from the 9 Dragons River were melting all the snow above the sky. Upon the listening Fury Cliff Stone, various powers fell into silence, quietly waiting for the mysterious fog to tear open, and for the outcome of the temple god resonance. Li Che was also happy with the quietness. He sat upright on the chariot, realized that everyone was fine, and continued to immerse himself in the study of the 10,000 dragons subduing gods. Chapter 504. At the same time, he was attempting to fuse the martial art of 10,000 dragons subduing gods into myriad transformations dragon elephant. Suddenly, a resounding boom exploded. Li Che, sitting upright in the driver's seat of the carriage, eyes closed, abruptly opened them. He fiercely looked towards the surface of the large river, shrouded in mysterious fog. Inside the carriage, Zhang Yi and Shang Guanqinghong also popped their heads out one after another. "My lord, is it the temple god resonance yielding results?" A look of worry appeared on Zhang Yi's face. The unsatisfactory outcome of XIXI's temple god resonance that had been revealed when the mysterious fog tore open, left Zhang Yi feeling like she had a fishbone stuck in her throat. Added to that was the surge of a great grandmaster level aura that erupted from within the fog afterwards. Zhang Yi's heart was entirely in suspense. She didn't know what was happening inside the fog, but it seemed like someone was shouting that the young prince had died. Someone had died. Zhang Yi's heart grew even more anxious, and she couldn't help worrying about her daughter's safety. "Right, it should be about to show the results," Li Che said soothingly. Shang Guanqinghong was also very nervous and looked at Li Che with confusion. "Che, how come you're not worried about XIXI at all?" Li Che glanced at Shang Guanqinghong. Where was he not worried? He was so worried that he had already taken action personally. Moreover, Li Che could observe XIXI's real-time situation within the fog and naturally knew whether XIXI was in any danger. Because he could monitor and observe his daughter's safety in real time, he was naturally calm and composed. "Of course I'm worried, but, sometimes, worry is useless," Li Che said with a gentle smile. Zhang Yi crawled out from the carriage, her hands anxiously clutching Li Che's shoulders. "My lord, it's starting, the thick fog is lifting." Zhang Yi's words caused both Li Che and Shang Guanqinghong to shift their gaze. Not just Li Che's group, numerous cultivators from many forces were also mentally shaken. They all looked up eagerly. Atop a cliff, Nan Luo, with white hair flying and hands behind his back, suddenly opened his eyes and stared fixedly at the fog. Bang! A powerful aura roared. The shadow guard true person took a step forward, his body enveloped in shadows, appeared at the cliff's edge, his eyes from the darkness fixated on the fog. Su Huai and the 6 black armored blood guards were also staring intently, their eyes filled with fervor and apprehension. The death of the young Prince Ji Haihui made them feel guilty, but the appearance of the martial saints will also filled them with excitement amidst their unease. Its side illustrated the deterrent power of Ji Moli, the martial saint and chaos king. Wang Kuyu, Lu Yao, Zhu Chaoyang, and other powerhouses also furrowed their brows, concentrating on the situation within the strange K. They wanted to know exactly what had happened inside the strange K. Rumble rumble. It was as if heavy lead clouds were rolling, and amidst their friction, there seemed to be thunder scratching causing the sound of rumbling, like the roar of an ancient bell. "It's coming." The Shadow Guard true person, as a divine primordial true person and having undergone primordial spirit metamorphosis, was highly perceptive. The moment the fog began to change, he sensed it, his emotions surging. Boom! Flames surged, as if a fiery phoenix emerged from the depths of the fog, spreading its wings. What followed was the transformation into the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel. The fire light was brilliant. Spinning rapidly, it started from the cliff and streaked across the river like cleaving fog. It gradually pulled apart the curtain of fog that had submerged the path to the temple, like the slow drawing of a stage curtain to each side. Everyone's eyes trembled, and they rushed out from their carriages one after another. They looked towards the strange K that was slowly parting the fog. The river roared and churned, raising spray, smashing against each other's waves and exploding into 1,000 piles of snow. The fog parted in the shape of a human character, displaying a crystal-clear scene. 300 jong away from the mysterious temple, the figures of the children who had stepped into the temple god resonance appeared in everyone's view. Compared to the first dispersal of the fog. This time, after the fog cleared, the scene was even more distinct. And this time, it essentially represented the final outcome of this temple god resonance. At the starting point, 300 jong away from the mysterious temple, many spirit children had not yet taken a step, the kids were sweating profusely, sitting on the ground with dispirited expressions, some were even crying with tears streaming and teeth clenched, sadly weeping. Weeping sadly for being unable to resonate with the temple god. Starting from 300 jong, about 100 jong away, the path leading to the mysterious temple was scattered with supreme spiritual children who had come from all over. Gong Yu and Liang, Gong Yang Yu, Huang Si Xiang, Hai Chao Sheng, and others were interspersed among them, including the spirit children brought by Wang Kuya from the authentic Qian Yuan divine sect. Huang Si Xiang went the furthest, followed by Gong Yang Yu, with Gong Yuan Liang and Hai Chao Shang behind them. At this moment, they sat cross-legged, with divinity flowing over them, receiving the gifts of the temple god. This was the third echelon, which had a certain degree of temple god resonance, and what they received were gifts of divinity methods or secret techniques such as 7 elements, 8 extremes. The fog continued to part and 100 zhang further ahead revealed the second echelon. To everyone's surprise, the divine children of the second echelon were from Dao City. In order were Tang Ren brought by Liu Yao, followed by Zhong Liuxiu, Zhou Peng and Yun Yi from the authentic divine sect, with Yun Yi going the furthest, almost reaching the last 100 zhang. However, they ultimately failed to step into the last 100 zhang distance, failing to enter the first echelon. They too sat on the ground, accepting the gifts of the temple god. When Liu Yao saw this, he let out a sigh of relief. This Tang Ren had at least squeezed into the second echelon. Wang Kuya flicked his whisk, his face showing a relieved frown. Only the second echelon, alas, what a pity. He had placed great expectations on little fatty Zhou Peng and Yun Yi, but they were now only squeezed into the second echelon and had not made it to the first, which was a bit disappointing. Chapter 505. The resonance with the temple god was not particularly outstanding, but it could only be considered average. The temple god's gifts might enable one to obtain divinity methods of the 6 offices level. Finally, the mysterious fog slowly tore open, and the pace gradually slowed, revealing the first tier. However, when everyone's gaze fell on the first child to appear in the first tier, their eyes all sharply focused. A chill enveloped everyone, cold to the bone. The eyes of the shadow guard true person hardened, and even his body enshrouded in shadows began to tremble uncontrollably, his primordial spirit stirred, and the oppressive power of his high divine hierarchy surged tumultuously. Ah! Young prince! The low growl echoed from the shadow guard true person. Even though they had been forewarned, when the mysterious fog tore open and the truth was exposed before their eyes, the impact on the spiritual level was still incredibly heavy, like an extremely sharp steel knife piercing through the heart, passing through the body and dripping blood. 6 black-armored blood guards also issued trembling roars, they all grasped their horse-slaying sabers and knelt on the rocks, terrified. Nearby, 100 yards from the mysterious temple, a bloodied corpse lay there, cold, silent, and already devoid of life. Covered in fine dragon scales, although no longer in human form, transformed into a half-dragon, that identity was undoubtedly Ji Haihui. The son of the king of quelling chaos, Ji Haihui. At that moment, everyone's gaze was drawn to this corpse. For a time, the whole listening fury cliff fell into silence, only the growls of the shadow guard true person and the 6 black-armored blood guards echoed. Su Huili stood dumbfounded, his face pale without any trace of blood. Dead. Really killed. The son of his teacher, really fell in Golden Light Prefecture City. The Golden Light Prefecture City he governed. Su Huili's eyes seemed to lose their light, this matter was too significant. His body couldn't stop trembling, and all his hair stood on end. Liu Yao, Wang Kuyu and Zhu Chaoyang all inhaled sharply. Is he really dead? After all, who killed him? A terrifying aura rampaged and interwoven, that was the outburst of fury from a divine primordial true person. Zhangya covered her mouth. Really, really dead? Shang Guan Qinghong's expression changed several times, big trouble is coming. She naturally knew the identity of Ji Haihui. The death of Xuetufu, a great grandmaster in Golden Light Prefecture, could be a big or small issue, but the death of a prince's son in Golden Light Prefecture, that was too major. Especially as the successor of the current most powerful warrior of the Grand Prospect dynasty, king of quelling chaos Ji Moli. Just thinking about it made Shang Guan Qinghong's scalp tingle. However, during the silence, most people's gazes still shifted, looking ahead to the front of the first tier. In front of Ji Haihui was an unexpectedly familiar figure. That was a figure enveloped in flames of 3 different colors. The divine child brought by Zhu Chaoyang, from the divine capital's 1000 ch purple aura. Tai Shan Ke. This divine child's facial expressions were ever-changing, sitting cross-legged on the ground, with 3 colored flames dancing on his body, twisting the air and even burning the mysterious fog with a hissing sound. In his hands, he held a banana leaf fan, his face showing great pain. And around his body coiled a mighty divinity of the temple god, like a huge python. Undoubtedly, he was receiving the gifts or even, the legacy of the temple god. Indeed, those in the first tier had a chance to receive gifts and legacy from the temple god. The gifts were at least of the 5 elders level divine methods, and one could even gain divine methods and divine weapon inheritance from the lineage of 8-armed prison lotus furious third prince. Being in the first tier meant having a temple god resonance surpassing 70%. However, Zhu Chaoyang's brows suddenly furrowed. It seemed he was not pleased with Tai Shankei's resonance with the temple god. Last in the first tier. If not counting the deceased Ji Haihui, Tai Shankei's resonance was indeed at the very end of the first tier. You should know. Tai Shankei was the divine child from the divine capital, possessing the 1000 ch purple aura divinity. Zhu Chaoyang took a deep breath, his gaze continuing forward. Nan Luo, Wang Kuyu, Li Qingshan, Zhu Hengdu and other members of the Golden Light sub-sect were already filled with curiosity. In front of Tai Shankei was yet another figure that surprised everyone. Everyone's expression shifted. How could it be him? Qin Fenghuo. The Qin family's Qin Fenghuo? Just a supreme spiritual child? A spiritual child who hasn't even obtained the position of a true successor in the Golden Light sub-sect. Atop the listening fury cliff stone, many voiced their surprise and confusion. At this moment, Qin Fenghuo was sitting cross-legged above the river, his eyes rimmed with darkness, his lips curled upwards, a majestic divinity cascading down, forming a blurred figure. Boom! Within the coach of the Qin family, a powerful surge of energy suddenly boomed. The next moment, it returned to calm. However, a faint sense of disappointment slowly began to stir. What a pity! Qin Fenghuo, ranked third. Yet it was enough to cause a stir. It was indeed a classic example of an upset. However, figures like Nan Luo, Wang Kuyu, Li Qingshan, Zhang Qingzheng, and other divine symbol cultivators from the Golden Light sub-sect, all furrowed their brows, their eyes flashing with confusion and puzzlement. How could it be Qin Fenghuo? Unthinkable. Because this name was simply not in their expectations. Further ahead, everyone continued to be in an uproar. This time it was a real tumult. They saw the silhouette of a young boy covered in blood. The boy had his eyes closed, his body was filthy with blood, and on his face, there were traces of tears. Just by looking, everyone fell into silence, a suffocating feeling taking hold, not knowing what he had experienced, what had happened. Lu Qi. Li Qingshan's stooped figure trembled slightly, his expression stunned. Above the cliff stone. Within the coach. Even Li Che was somewhat horrified as he watched the current state of Lu Qi. Little Qi. What on earth has he gone through? Zhangya and Shangguan Qinghong both covered their mouths, their eyes filled with horror and sympathy. That body covered in blood, as if riddled with dense wounds. As if he had been sliced by 1,000 knives. Li Che's mind was shaken, he let out a breath, how ruthless. He guessed what Lu Qi had gone through. Bone carving for his father, flesh cutting for his mother. What XIXI didn't do, Lu Qi did. And the reason he could reach such a height in the temple god resonance was because, he was ruthless enough. Why go to such lengths? Li Che didn't understand. He didn't get it. His eyes narrowed, his eyebrows deeply furrowed. Because, such a choice meant severing everything, extinguishing all personal emotions in the act of carving bones and slicing flesh. This Lu Qi. It seems he quit being blonde? The sound of uproar rose and fell, obviously, in the Golden Light sub-sect, many recognized Lu Kai's identity. Li Qingshan's apprentice, who had participated in the last temple god resonance. Logically speaking, participating in the temple god resonance for the second time would be even more challenging. But, he ended up ranked second. So, who was the first? The first, who could it be? The expressions of everyone shook, their faces rapidly changing, all eagerly looking towards the direction where the mysterious fog dissipated. The mysterious fog slowly tore open, revealing the ancient mysterious temple all of a sudden. That temple, located at the heart of the river, the 8-armed prison lotus furious third prince mysterious temple, suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. And on the bottom steps of that mysterious temple, a tiny figure sat cross-legged, positioned on a black lotus platform. The lotus platform was slowly spinning, and an extremely rich temple god divinity surged out of it, entering the tiny body like threads. All was silent except for the sound of the waves crashing. A moment later, an uproar exploded, filling the sky. Wow! It's her! It's her! The Jiazi child prodigy of our Golden Light Prefecture. Chapter 506. Crack crack! The storm raged above the sky, raining down like bullets, sparking ripples in the mysterious fog. The gentle rumbling, accompanied by raindrops tearing through the fog, brought a wail that seemed like fury. But at this moment, no one on the listening fury cliff stone had the mood to listen to this rage. Everyone was looking at the end of the tier in the mysterious fog, at the only figure who had squeezed onto the top of the mysterious temple, sitting on the steps enveloped by a black lotus platform. Could it be her? Arji as a child prodigy from Golden Light Prefecture. Ha ha ha! It's our divine child from Golden Light Prefecture! Exclamations echoed incessantly, and many cultivators from Golden Light Prefecture couldn't help but laugh freely, bursting into brilliant laughter. For many cultivators, a sense of honor between regions is actually very important. After all, the third prince's mysterious temple is located in Golden Light Prefecture, and even though it is not privately owned, cultivators from Golden Light Prefecture subconsciously think of it as belonging to Golden Light Prefecture. Therefore, when forces from other prefectures, states, Dao City, and even Divine Capital send their divine youths to compete, it naturally ignites the buried sense of honor in many cultivators. It's just like how in many competitive events, people subconsciously support the participants from their hometown. Initially, XIXI had not even taken a step at the beginning of the Temple God Resonance, and was even considered to have no Temple God Resonance. During this Temple God Resonance meeting, she might not gain anything at all. However, the current situation vastly exceeded expectations. Indeed, she's worthy of being our Golden Light Prefecture's Jiazit child prodigy. Amazing! What about the divine children from Divine Capital, from Dao City? They're nothing special. Excitement surged ceaselessly. XIXI became the only child among all to cross the 300 Zhang mark and step into the area of the mysterious temple. Her temple god resonance, over 90%. Atop the cliff, Nan Luo took a long breath and could no longer suppress the smile on his lips. Ha 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 ha! Good girl, good girl! Nan Luo's white hair flew about, his large sleeves swirling wildly behind him. Even though the Shadow Guard true person and the 6 black armored blood guards beside him were filled with murderous intent, cold and angry, Nan Luo still laughed. You won't let me, Nan Luo, celebrate for my disciple just because your young prince is dead? Su Huili's expression was extremely cold as he stared at Nan Luo. He then turned his head back to watch the furious raging river, feeling a bone-chilling desolation in his heart. The young prince, Ji Haihui, was dead. And Nan Luo's young disciple had become the one with the highest temple god resonance. She was about to receive the legacy of the temple god. It was unbearable, frustrating, and angering. Su Huili clenched his hands into fists, his murderous intent toward the complacent Nan Luo could no longer be contained. Yet, he held back. His chilly face lowered his hands, and his eyes concealed the killing intent. Su Huili knew it well. Ji Haihui's death here implicated him inescapably. In the eyes of his teacher, his image was completely tarnished. Su Huili closed his eyes, his future might be finished. He needed to find a way to make amends from other places. Inside the carriage, Zhang Ye screamed excitedly, dispelling the gloom brought on by Liu Qi covered in blood. A husband! Is that XIXI? Is that my daughter XIXI? My daughter is so amazing. XIXI has the highest temple god resonance, she's succeeded. Zhang Ye was thrilled beyond measure. She didn't understand what the temple god inheritance was, she only knew that her daughter was number 1 in this competition among many divine youths and divine children. She was ecstatic. XIXI is amazing, mommy will make you braised pork, sweet and sour fish, and braised pig's feet when we get home. Zhang Ye could not contain her joyful smile. Shang Guan Qinghong was beside her, also letting out a sigh of relief. Li Che leaned on the carriage shaft, a warm smile curving his lips. Although he had expected it, the feeling of gratification and excitement still surged when the final result was confirmed. Looking at his daughter, the center of attention, Li Che's mood was excellent. For a father, isn't the hope that his children will amaze the world and achieve great results? Not bad, my girl. Li Che chuckled. Now, Li Che was only curious about what kind of temple god inheritance XIXI would receive. XIXI had already obtained 2 divine weapons during the process of temple god resonance. One was another round of the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel, and the other divine weapon was that gold brick that had hammered Ji Hai to a temperless state. Li Che had yet to examine what that gold brick was. It seemed to be cast from pure gold, it just looked very expensive. Therefore, Li Che couldn't predict whether the Temple God Third Prince would give XIXI another divine weapon as part of the final outcome of the Temple God Resonance. After all, XIXI was still a long way from completing the Third Prince's divine armor set. Although XIXI had the purple flame serpent spear, a wind-fire golden light wheel, and a gold brick, Li Che remembered that there were also the Chaos Silk, Kyunkan Ring, Yin Yang Sword, 9 Dragon Divine Fire Cover, Demon Subduing Mace, Demon Slaying Knife, Embroidered Ball. It's a mixed bunch, but they all come from Li Che's memories of his past life. Of course, whether the temple god in this life has these divine weapons is something Li Che doesn't know. Li Che also can't assume based on his past life's ideas. However, it's still something to look forward to. At the Listening Fury Cliff. Chapter 507. The atmosphere kept changing, some were delighted while others sorrowed, some laughed heartily while others seethed in anger. Liu Yao stroked his beard, his eyes sparkling. He had not held much hope for the divine child Tang Ren he had brought along. Yet he had never expected Li Che's daughter Li Nuangzai to be so astonishingly impressive. As a divine child of humble origins from Golden Light Prefecture, she actually managed to outshine those from Dao City, the divine capital, and even the son of King Pingluan, and that one. Liu Yao looked towards Liu Qi, and vaguely, it seemed he guessed something. Wang Kuyu stroked his beard and laughed out loud, feeling very pleased. The bet he had with Nan Luo now seemed to be something he could fulfill. With the Third Prince Temple God resonance reaching as high as 90%, introducing such a divine child to the sect master should pose no problems at all. Boom! However, just when everyone's attitude was eagerly heated, an overwhelming fury swept in, churning tumultuously. The Shadow Guard true person was shrouded in black mist, and the formidable divine origin mechanism, like a collapsing mountain, suddenly silenced the entire cliff. Liu Yao, King Taoist, and Zhu Chaoyang's brows furrowed simultaneously. Where is the prince's martial saint's will? A cold and incredulous voice emanated from the Shadow Guard true person. Upon those words, everyone froze. The Shadow Guard true person had been waiting for the martial saint's will of the prince, and indeed, a Grandmaster level mechanism had previously erupted within the mysterious fog, claiming to express the martial saint's will. But now, the martial saint's will that the Shadow Guard true person, Black Armored Blood Guard, and Su Huai had been waiting for, shockingly did not appear. What in the world was going on? That was the martial saint's will embedded within the bloodline of the prince, after the young prince's death. With great Grandmaster level strength, how could it just vanish? Was it eliminated by the temple god? Or by the murderer who killed Ji Hai? Most heinous and insolent. Rage unabated. As this thought struck him, the fury of the Shadow Guard true person could not be contained. And at first, Su Huai was also filled with anger, but gradually, he began to relax a little. At least, he didn't have to face his furious teacher immediately. The martial saint's will, extinguished by someone? This news left many reeling in shock. Liu Yao, Wang Kuyu, Zhu Chaoyang, and other divine element true persons and great grand masters, their eyes contracted slightly. Realizing the horrific implications. The significance of the martial saint's will was all too clear to them. None among the three of them would be able to disperse King Pinglu and Ji Moli's martial saint's will. Who could it be? They broke out in a cold sweat. Among them, was there really a hidden powerhouse? To disperse the martial saint's will, they must be at least at the level of divine origin realm, having undergone primordial spirit metamorphosis to the latter realm, or a great grandmaster who had tempered at least 25 divine gangs. Could it have been Elder Jiao who took action? Zhu Chaoyang suddenly spoke up. However, as soon as he spoke, the sharp and piercing gaze of the coachman grandmaster immediately swept towards him, as his terrifying vitality rumbled like a fierce lion. No, it's not possible. Elder Jiao needs to be in charge of the prison Lotus Wind Fire Golden Light Wheel and certainly can't afford to be distracted by combating the martial saint's will, Wang Kuyu immediately refuted. For a time, the atmosphere sunk into a lull. The Shadow Guard true person did not speak again. He too realized the gravity of the situation. Within the temple god resonance, something they were unaware of must have occurred. After all, the death of Ji Haihui would trigger both the martial saint and dragon god bloodlines in his body. The dragon god bloodline, which might not be as potent as the martial saints because of the dragon queen consort, should at least be at the half-step great grandmaster level. But now, even the martial saints' will had been extinguished along with it. Who could it be? The Shadow Guard true person first ruled out Jiao Shaokaiu, but if not Jiao Shaokaiu, could it possibly be among those divine and spirit children who had participated in the temple god resonance? After all, only those divine children and spirit children with innate divinity could step into the strange cave that had opened at this moment. If others tried to step in, they would stir up a commotion in the cave, being dragged into it to directly face the temple guardian cursed corpses and terrifying monsters within. The temple guardian cursed corpses and monsters of the four royal mysterious temples could well be overwhelming even for a fallen martial saint. Once we retrieve the young prince's body, we must leave Golden Light Prefecture City immediately, the Shadow Guard true person told the 6 black armored blood guards in a stern voice. The one who killed the young prince must be linked to these divine and spirit children, his eyes within the black mist cold and sharp. His glance swept over the figures of the children. His gaze passed over the first tier Tai Shan Ke, Qin Feng Huo, Lu Qi, and Xixi. At the very least, these 4 children could not absolve themselves from blame. This information must be taken back. As for how to address it, the prince would surely send experts adept in investigation to come forth. There was no need for them to ponder anxiously. At a distance, Li Che, seated on the coach box, watched them calmly, his gaze serene and undisturbed, without a ripple. He had naturally heard the Shadow Guard true person's words. This divine element true person was clearly aware of the severity of the situation. The death of Great Grand Master Xuetufu in Golden Light Prefecture City, and now the young prince as well, this matter was no longer theirs to handle. His saying this was essentially his last bit of defiance and deterrence. To take away the young prince's body, and return safely? However, Li Che's mind stirred slightly. Go back. How could I let you return safely? The ruthless and brutal corpse god cult, and the hunting god pavilion, won't let you off. If the waters must be muddied, then let them be even murkier. A hint of a smirk curled at the corner of Li Che's lips. His fingers tapped lightly on the coach box. Chapter 508. Time ticked away slowly. The fervent atmosphere gradually became stifling. The results of the temple god resonance were now fully revealed, with no possibility of change. What everyone was waiting for was merely the finale of the temple god resonance and the benefits these children had gained during the grand meeting. For example, whether they really received the inheritance of the temple god, and the divine armor set rumored to belong to the third crown prince. After all, this was the 4 royal mysterious temples. The inheritance of Dharma could reach up to the 4 imperial levels. Amidst the mysterious fog, Jiao Shaokaiu sat cross-legged, a cascade of sweat rolling down his withered face that resembled weathered wood. Just presiding over this grand meeting of the temple god resonance had already exhausted all of his strength. Moreover, something unforeseen must have occurred during this session of the temple god resonance, forcing Jiao Shaokaiu to expend even more energy to maintain it, nearly reaching his limit. Jiao Shaokaiu could not concern himself with anything else, he could only muster all his effort to oversee this event. Hum. The majestic temple god divinity surged wildly. These were the children affected by the temple god resonance, now receiving the temple god's gifts and inheritance. After persisting for a while longer, Jiao Shaokaiu finally rose slowly from his seated position. His straightforward clothing fluttered, his face, previously fraught with suffering, now showed a sense of relief. Only now did he finally have the energy to look at the final results. The outcome of the temple god resonance was somewhat beyond his expectations. But it didn't surprise him too much. His murky yet profound gaze lingered on 3 figures. Xixi, Lu Qi, and Qin Feng Huo. Among them, his gaze stayed the longest on Qin Feng Huo, even carrying a bit of gravitas within those profound depths. I expected as much from Xixi and Lu Qi. What's the deal with this Qin Feng Huo? The old man furrowed his brow tightly. However, although he was puzzled, he didn't dwell on it at this moment. Boom! In the heavens above, countless sparks flew as the golden wheel spun rapidly. The next moment, it seemed as if an ancient bell had been struck forcefully, causing the resounding sonic boom to explode. Everyone awoke from their immersion. One by one, they opened their eyes. Xixi sat on the lotus platform, her bent, curled eyelashes quivering before she opened her eyes. She scratched her back and wriggled her bottom. The lotus platform was a bit uncomfortable. Her mind was echoing with many voices, the gifts and inheritance from the temple god. Bang! The lotus platform suddenly exploded into black flames, turning into a black flame lotus, like a dark lotus blossoming from hell, its energy waves lifting Xixi's figure. Xixi giggled, her bright eyes sparkling. The flames surged into her flesh and gradually subsided. At the center of her brow, the mud pill spot reflected a prison lotus divine pattern. It added a touch of God's intent to Xixi. Below, around Liu Qi and Qin Fenghuo, black flames ignited as well. However, compared to Xixi, the amount of black flame around them was significantly less, and eventually, like Xixi, converged at the mud pill spot on their brows into the prison lotus divine pattern. Qin Fenghuo's lips carried a devilish smile, his eyes opening and closing. Raising his hand, he touched the searing prison lotus divine pattern. The prison lotus divine pattern was a sign of the temple god divinity, and although there was less of the divinity, he had completed his task and successfully absorbed the temple god divinity into his body. Just a pity I couldn't step into the mysterious temple. Hey! Qin Fenghuo's eyes narrowed sharply. His gaze fell on the little girl who was scratching for itchiness on the mysterious temple steps. Impossible! How could this girl possibly have set foot on the mysterious temple? This was the four royal mysterious temples, the temple god resonance. To what extent must one achieve to step into the realm of the mysterious temple? Moreover, he saw the prison lotus divine pattern on Xixi's forehead, his body shaking, feeling an overwhelming surge of black flames pressing down upon him. Compared to the temple god divinity he had absorbed, it was far too much, much too much. No wonder the temple god divinity he absorbed was so much less than he expected. He figured it out. Was it this girl who single-handedly absorbed most of the temple god divinity? Liu Qi also opened his eyes, his body covered in blood, yet his eyes were very calm and clear. He stood up and glanced indifferently at Xixi. Xixi saw Liu Qi too and ran down from the mysterious temple, thudding her feet on the ground. Liu Qi! What happened to you? Why are you covered in so much blood? Who bullied you? Tell Emperor Xixi, I'll help you beat them up. Xixi clenched her chubby lotus arm and brandished it. She bounced up to Liu Qi, tilted her cheek up, her baby fat face bearing two bright, twinkling eyes. However, Liu Qi looked at Xixi with only indifference. Even though to him, at this moment, Xixi was extraordinarily lovable, shining like the sun, dazzling like blooming flowers. His heart was without a single ripple, as still as a dead pond. His eyes even held a certain aloofness, as if to separate himself from the world. Step aside. Liu Kai's voice was cold. Xixi was stunned. For a moment, she was at a loss. Big head Liu, what are you saying? Xixi got a little angry. Nevertheless, Liu Kai's gaze remained undisturbed, he didn't even spare Xixi a glance and turned to walk past her. As the two brushed past each other, his indifference was like that of a stranger on the street, as cold as the chilling trace snow in the dead of winter. Xixi clenched her fist, her cheeks puffed up with anger as she turned on her heels. Liu Qi. Still, Liu Qi continued on indifferently. Xixi felt slighted. But even more, she was angry. Chapter 509. Was this still her good friend Liu Qi? Liu Qi! Don't even think about coming to play with the twist car at my house again. You're never to come to Xixi's house again. Xixi said angrily. Liu Kai's body paused, shuddering slightly, his eyes flickered with pain and conflict, however, eventually that trace of pain and conflict turned cold and indifferent. He wiped his face, smeared with blood, full of coldness. Whatever. Liu Qi responded indifferently. He continued walking. Xixi clenched her little fist, wildly punching the air. Dead Liu Qi, stinky Liu Qi. To speak to Emperor Xixi like that. Ah, I'm so angry. We're no longer friends. Emperor Xixi said so. Xixi had a temper too. However, Liu Qi didn't turn back, instead another indifferent voice floated over. Friends? If not, then not. Twist car? What a childish and laughable thing. Qin Fenghuo's eyes flickered nearby, staring at Liu Qi with a hint of horror in his eyes. Crazy. To choose the temple god resonance in such a way. Really to carve to the bone? To sever the 7 emotions and desires? Such torture and pain, he could endure it all? This big-headed boy, what a brutal character. This kid seized more temple god divinity than him, and Qin Fenghuo wasn't jealous at all. This guy deserved it. The temple god resonance ended. The prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel opened the path to leave, and the children turned to leave Nine Dragons River with a path opened in the strange K, some disappointed, some happy, some annoyed, back to listening Fury Cliff Stone. Jiao Shaokai, who controlled the golden light wheel with a sealing technique, walked to Xixi's side, and ruffled the fuming Xixi's head. "Let's go, little girl," Jiao Shaokai said gently. However, his palm had just touched Xixi's head. His eyes couldn't help but flicker. "Xixi, did you receive the second cycle of the prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel?" Xixi was still angry with Liu Qi at the moment, even feeling a hint of the sorrow of losing a good friend. After all, Liu Qi had been her good friend from Feilei City all the way to Golden Light Prefecture. To break it off just like that made her very unhappy. But Xixi also had pride. If Liu Qi wouldn't bother with her, she wouldn't bother with Liu Qi either. Her mood also gradually calmed down. She reluctantly smiled, lifting her chubby toes, wiggling them. "Elder Grandpa, you guessed right. But, it seems Xixi can't make the little wheel come out," Xixi said annoyedly. Jiao Shaokai paused, then burst out laughing while stroking his beard, his body shaking uncontrollably. "Ha ha ha ha, very good." The second cycle of the golden light wheel appeared too. The prison lotus wind fire golden light wheel, this divine weapon, was finally completely assembled. What a great event, a truly great event. With such a talented child as Xixi, keeping her at Golden Light Prefecture was truly a waste of her talent. She must be sent to Jianyuan Divine Sect. A genius who could tame the second Golden Light Wheel. Only the authentic Divine Sect could teach Xixi to master this four royal divine weapon. Even to use the power of the divine weapon to become stronger. Acquiring this divine child was truly a fortunate event for the Jianyuan Divine Sect. Jiao Shaokai was very happy. As an old cultivator who had dedicated his life to the Divine Sect, his sense of belonging to the sect was naturally very high. To see the sect acquire such an essential talented child was extremely gratifying to him. Taking Xixi by the hand, Jiao Shaokai led the small girl along the path. The golden light wheel spun joyfully, bursting with sparks, like a proud sun guiding the way forward. An old man and a child came upon the corpse of Ji Haihui. Jiao Shaokai's gaze sharpened. Corpse God Cult. Jiao Shaokai instantly saw the death chi and corpse chi entwined within Ji Haihui's corpse, along with a trace of strong and terrifying silver gang. Corpse God Cult. Cursed Silver Corpse. Jiao Shaokai immediately thought of the earlier encounter and clash of energies. It turned out, it was the evil people from the Corpse God Cult who acted, cutting off Ji Haihui, igniting the martial saint's will in his bloodline. But this evildoer from the Corpse God Cult had extremely high skills, having suppressed and shattered even the martial saint's will. Although it was the martial saint's will, the evildoer from the Corpse God Cult, having shattered the martial saint's will, must have also been severely injured and therefore could not continue attacking the children participating in the temple god resonance, thus he escaped. Jiao Shaokai just needed one look, and his mind filled in the details based on the situation. One can only say, it was the young prince who saved the children this time participating in the temple god resonance. Great, no need for more words. Jiao Shaokai sighed. Some people's deaths are anything but light as feathers. Xixi pursed her lips, being very well behaved, daring not to speak. Xixi was smart and understood that the death of this little servant, Ji Haihui, would certainly bring great trouble. So, nobody could know it was Xixi who killed him. Otherwise, it would bring great trouble for her daddy and mommy. Jiao Shaokai's divinity surged, uplifting Ji Haihui's half-human, half-dragon corpse, somewhat headachy though he was privy to the cause of the incident. But it was still going to be very troublesome. However, they would ultimately have to face it. Leading Xixi by the hand, Jiao Shaokai's divinity uplifted Ji Haihui's corpse as they left the mysterious fog swirling strange K with the children. As they left, the mysterious fog once again enveloped everything. When everyone arrived back at Listening Fury Cliff Stone, Hai Chao Sheng, Gong Yuan Liang, Gong Yangshu and other children couldn't hold back anymore and ran excitedly towards Xixi. A group of children screamed together, bursting with excitement, praising Emperor Xixi. Xixi with her hands on her hips and belly puffed out was very pleased with their attitude. Liu Qi, hey! Not even worth acknowledging. The mysterious fog roiled, the strange K thundered, and in the Nine Dragons River, the river water roared angrily, blasting water 1,000 feet high. Chapter 510 The strange K slowly became translucent, as if, with the departure of the mysterious fog, it was beginning to disappear from this world. Many strong individuals had eyes like lightning, fiercely scanning the area. Indistinctly, it seemed as though they could see within the strange K, one terrifying figure after another stretching across. The strange K. Over at Deo City, they are proposing to organize a group of powerful individuals to conquer this four royal mysterious temple. Otherwise, this four royal mysterious temple could easily become a hidden danger. After all, the corpse god cult and the hunting god pavilion are eyeing this four royal mysterious temple and are preparing to take action. Therefore, the imperial court here plans to no longer allow this mysterious temple to continue existing, wishing to conquer it and take control of this four royal mysterious temple. Zhu Chaoyang spoke in a deep voice. As his words fell, they echoed incessantly atop the listening fury cliff stone. He did not cover up his words. However, as his words ended, on the cliff stone, cultivators from the many great and small noble families of Golden Light Prefecture City changed color. This was definitely a major event that could affect the situation of an entire prefecture. Li Che got off the carriage, heard these words, and his heart stirred slightly. He thought of what he had seen in the mysterious fog with the star-plucking pupil and couldn't help but shake his head. Attack and loot this mysterious temple? It was probably not going to be that easy. Li Che always felt that this four royal mysterious temple was somewhat different from the other four royal mysterious temples. Of course, it might also be because he had never seen the other four royal mysterious temples. But intuition told Li Che. If they really intended to move against this mysterious temple, the imperial court and various powers were likely to pay a heavy price. He led Zhangya down from the carriage. Zhangya lifted her skirt, hurriedly trotting towards Xixi's direction, and Li Che, too, was pulled along, sprinting involuntarily. Atop the cliff stone, the Shadow Guard true person, 6 black armored blood guards, and Su Huili took away Ji Haihui's body. Corpse God Cult. Killing intent surged in the eyes of the Shadow Guard true person. Such dense death chi and corpse chi, along with the cursed silver corpse's silver gang, these were all signs of a master from the corpse god cult. But, was it really the corpse god cult's doing? Why did the corpse god cult only kill Ji Haihui? And not go after the other children? Although Jiao Shaokaiu gave his guesses and explanations, the Shadow Guard true person did not believe it was so. The truth will definitely be found. The Shadow Guard true person, black armored blood guards, and Su Huili, with heavy hearts, took Ji Haihui's body and left. This temple god resonance, for some people, was a carnival. But for the city lord's mansion, it was only endless grief. Nan Luo was beaming with joy, full of smiles. He came side by side with King Taoist. Li Che, Zhang Ye and the others also walked over. Xixi at this moment was truly the center of attention at the scene. Surrounded by her little friends. And the little ones discussed excitedly among themselves. Xixi. I made a small mistake this time, I even did worse than Gong Yu and Liang, but I also received the temple god's gift, a low-grade divine method from the 6 bureaus. I'm going to get stronger soon. Wait for me, Xixi. Hai Chao Sheng squeezed to Xixi's side and said excitedly. He knew Xixi needed a friend with strong combat power, and he, Hai Chao Sheng, would definitely become stronger. Xixi, I also received the temple god's gift, a divine method from the 6 bureaus at mid-grade level. Much better than Hai Chao Sheng. What about you, Xixi? What gift did you get from the temple god? Gong Yu and Liang pushed Hai Chao Sheng aside and asked curiously. Little fatty Zhou Peng, Yuni, Gong Yang Yu and the others also looked on curiously. Xixi crossed her arms, her little face shaking, boasting like a child who had obtained a fun toy. You're just 6 bureaus. Liang, you little weakling. Emperor Xixi also received a divine method called the 8-armed tri-faced prison lotus indestructible divine fetus technique. At the level of the 3 pure ones.